हमारा इस बार टारगेट है पूरा मेजॉरिटी का सरकार इस बार, ये टारगेट रखकर पूरा कर्नाटक में विजय संकल्प यात्रा हम करने वाले हैं। एक जगदीश शेट्टर हमारा एक्स सीएम और एक आर अशोक केम्पेगौड़ा नाडू बेंगलुरु से एक, और तीसरा मैसूर से हमारा ईश्वरप्पा के नेतृत्व में, चौथा हमारा संगोल्ली रायण्णा बोल के वॉरियर फ्रीडम फाइटर, वहां से एक शुरू हुआ है। ऐसे 4 रथ पूरा कर्नाटक में घूमने वाले हैं।
So thank you, sir. Thank you for speaking with us, sir. So this was Ravi Kumar, who is General Secretary and MLC of Karnataka State. So
Earlier, let's take a look.
As a part of the third wing of Vijay Sankalpa Yatra, Union Home Minister Amit Shah has flagged off the Rath vehicle here at the Anubhav Mandap in Basava Kalyan of Karnataka. This vehicle is set to campaign in several districts where this third phase, the earlier 2 phases, 2 wings were inaugurated. Now the third wing has been inaugurated by Union Home Minister Amit Shah, which this Sankalpa Yatra is going to cover more than all the 224 constituencies of Karnataka, of more than 8,000 kilometers, where a Sankalpa, a resolution will be taken for a victory in the upcoming Karnataka polls that are set to be held nearly. So this vehicle that you see has been flagged off by Union Home Minister Amit Shah, and then he said he has left inside the Anubhav Mandap, where he's going to interact with the Swamijis, more than 17 Swamijis who are inside, where an Indo meeting has been organized. Today, in the public meeting that was organized at Basava Kalyan, Union Home Minister Amit Shah has taken a jibe at the Congress regarding the recent elections result that has been announced yesterday in Tripura, Meghalaya, and in Tripura, Meghalaya, where Congress is nowhere to be seen, is what he has said, and stated that it cannot be seen with the binoculars as well. With camera person Damodar, Abdul Bashir, Hyderabad.
We're getting you all the details of the Vijay Sankalp Yatra of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Hello, sir.
In fact, you had seen those pictures of Union Minister Amit Shah also in Bidar, and it's a huge program as far as the itinerary of the Vijay Sankalp program is concerned. We have the Chief Minister, the Deputy Chief Minister, the former Chief Minister, in fact, of the state of Karnataka. The state is poll bound, essentially the poll bugle there being sounded by Union Home Minister Amit Shah in Karnataka, up against the BJP, which is in fact, up against the Congress rather, which is in fact giving a tough fight to the incumbent BJP in the state of Karnataka. Also, we had and seen previously the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurating the Vijay Sankalp Yatra. It's a big campaign of the Bharatiya Janata Party. It's also been called the Booth Vijay Abhiyan and the Vijay Sankalp Abhiyan. Abdul Bashir is from Bidar, getting us more details on that. Abdul, take us to the details of what the next few days are also going to look like, and also stress a little on the itinerary of the Home Minister today.
See, with the elections ahead in Karnataka state, Vijay Sankalpa Yatra has been launched in the state of Karnataka by the Bharatiya Janata Party. Today, the third wing was inaugurated and flagged off by Union Home Minister Amit Shah. Right now, we are inside the vehicle of the Rath vehicle, which is going to campaign more than 40 constituencies here. In this vehicle is going to tour around 40 constituencies with a Sankalpa, with a resolution that BJP will gain victory with majority this time. So here is this vehicle that is going to tour in the several districts. So this likewise 4 wings are set up, are being organized by the Bharatiya Janata Party to cover all the 224 constituencies in the state of Karnataka. So this is the vehicle that is here, and today is a tour that we have seen that Union Home Minister Amit Shah had joined this event here in a public meeting as a chief guest, and he has taken a jibe at the Congress party, stating that several issues, in the recent election, the election result that were announced yesterday, Congress was nowhere to be seen, and this jibe was taken by Union Home Minister Amit Shah. He is also assured that BJP will gain victory with a majority in the upcoming Karnataka elections. Over to you, Sneha.
All right, be with us, Abdul. Just coming back to you in a few moments from now. In fact, this is what Amit Shah had to say a while ago.
आज 3-4 दिन से
एक कांग्रेस वालों के बयान देख रहा हूं। मित्रों, ये लोगों के पास विजय का कोई सूत्र नहीं बचा है। राहुल गांधी के नेतृत्व में एक कांग्रेस पार्टी, इसका स्तर दिन प्रतिदिन गिरता जा रहा है। क्या नारे लगा रहे हैं, क्या नारे लगा रहे हैं? मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी, ये आप पार्टी वाले कहते हैं। मोदी तुम मर जाओ। अरे भाई, आपके कहने से क्या होता है? ऐसा कहने से ईश्वर आपकी नहीं सुनेगा, क्योंकि 130 करोड़ की जनता मोदी जी के लंबे आयुष्य के लिए प्रार्थना करे। और सुन लीजिए कांग्रेस वालों, राहुल गांधी जी ने जो सूचना दी हो आपको, सिद्धरमैया जी भी सुन ले, डीके शिव कुमार भी सुन ले। जितना कीचड़ मोदी जी पर उछालोगे, कमल इतना खिलकर बाहर आए। ये मोदी जी का जो जादू है ना, मोदी जी का जादू, चाहे उत्तर पूर्व हो, चाहे गुजरात हो, चाहे उत्तर प्रदेश हो, चाहे कर्नाटक हो, हर जगह सर चढ़कर बोलता है। आज यहां से विजय संकल्प यात्रा शुरू हो रही है। ये विजय जो है, जिसका संकल्प लेना है, वो विजय भारतीय जनता पार्टी का विजय नहीं है। वो विजय हमारे नेता को मुख्यमंत्री बनाने का संकल्प नहीं है। ये विजय संकल्प यात्रा है कर्नाटक के गरीब से गरीब व्यक्ति का कल्याण करने का संकल्प लेकर हम।
We have some news just coming in. Let's go straight to that. The Congress is protesting against the Karnataka bribe gate. Congress star outside the Lokayukta office against the BJP MLA caught red-handed. In fact, the son essentially caught red-handed taking a bribe. After 8 crores seized from the MLA Virupakshappa, angry Congress cadres' corruption chants is what we can see. These pictures are of protests being carried out by the Congress party. Undoubtedly a huge embarrassment for the BJP. This, of course, ahead of the high-octane election battle.
Youth Congress here in Karnataka are protesting in front of the DGP office, demanding the arrest of BJP MLA Madal Virupakshappa. As we know, Madal Virupakshappa is absconding right now. His phone is switched off. His son is in the custody of the Lokayukta. Right now, the Youth Congress are sitting in front of the DGP office, demanding the arrest of the BJP MLA. That how is that he is on the run and no action has been taken by the police? The DGP gates have been closed also. The gates have been locked here because they don't want the protesters to enter the DGP office. You have the All India Youth Congress President, Mr. Srinivas, Karnataka Youth Congress President, Mr. Nalapad, leading the protest. You can see the placards, 40% commission, 40% corruption charges that were there. Today, the evidence has been given by Lokayukta. So there is no moral right for the BJP to talk about corruption. And today, the evidence has been given as the MLA's son has been arrested and the MLA right now is absconding from the Lokayukta's clutches. Nagarjun Dwarkanath for India Today.
Nagarjun Dwarkanath getting us that detailed report. The Congress, of course, holding a protest against the Karnataka bribe gate. It's a huge embarrassment for the BJP ahead of the high-octane Karnataka Assembly polls, where the Lokayukta, the anti-corruption watchdog of the Karnataka government, caught BJP MLA's son red-handed while he was receiving a bribe of 40 lakh rupees at his private office in Bengaluru. When approached, the MLA sidelined himself. In fact, distanced himself from the raids, calling it a conspiracy against him and his family. Meanwhile, Congress is targeting Home Minister Amit Shah, who also happens to be in Karnataka, saying he should have brought CBI and ED with him. Remember, Lokayukt has so far recovered 8 crores, 40 lakhs in total. 2 crore from the MLA's son's office and 8 crore from the MLA's house. Officials suspect he was taking bribe on behalf of his father. MLA's son and 4 others have been arrested. Meanwhile, raids are underway to unravel more details.
The major setback to BJP MLA Model Virupaksha and his son Prashant Virupaksha has been booked under corruption charges by Karnataka Lokayukta. Yesterday, based on a private complaint, Lokayukta had raided Prashant Virupaksha, who is a son of Model Virupaksha in Bengaluru, and seized up to 1.62 crore. As we speak now, here in Sanjay Nagar, Lokayukta is conducting raids in KMV mansion. Model Virupaksha have a flat here in KMV mansion on floor 3rd, and he owns a flat number 301. As we speak now, the Lokayukta is conducting the raid, and they have also given a clarification that so far they have seized up to 6 crore rupees in his mansion here in Sanjay Nagar, and all this money are unaccounted. Talking about this particular raid, Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has given a clarification that it is his government who has strengthened the Lokayukta, and they will try to investigate all the corruption charges against any MLAs irrespective of parties, and there will not be any kind of biased investigation when it comes to these kind of corruption charges. On the other side, Congress has hit out on BJP on 40% commission, and this particular raid is a clear example of BJP government's corruption. With Shivamurthy Sagaraj reporting for India Today, Bengaluru.
ಅದೇ ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನ ಊರಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಓಕೆ,
ನಾನು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನನಗೆ ಅದು ಏನ್ ಸತ್ಯಾಂಶ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದು, ಏನ್ ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕಾಗಿದೆ.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ತಾವು ತಮ್ಮ ಮಗನ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರ ಸರ್?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ ಅವ್ರ ಪಾಪ ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತರ ಜೊತೆ ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಓಕೆ, ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಕನ್ಫರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ರೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಗ ಇದ್ದ ಅಂತ ಸರ್?
ನನ್ನ ಟಿವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ನೋಡಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಂಗೆ ಬಾಕಿ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೋ ಇದ್ದಾಗ 40 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್?
ನನ್ನ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅದು, ನನ್ನ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಇರೋದು ಶಾಸಕರ ಭವನದಲ್ಲಿ.
ಓಕೆ,
ನನ್ನ ಆಫೀಸ್
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಟೆಂಡರ್ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ
ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ನಾವು ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ಪುನರ್ಸ್ಥಾಪನೆ ಮಾಡಿರುವುದೇ ಮುಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರವನ್ನು ನಿಗ್ರಹಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಈ ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ಇಲ್ಲದಿದ್ದರೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇಂಥ ಹಲವಾರು ಪ್ರಕರಣಗಳು ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದು ಮುಚ್ಚೋಗಿದೆ. ನಾವು ನಿಷ್ಪಕ್ಷಪಾತವಾಗಿ ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ ನಾನು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಈ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ಸರ್ವಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ, ನಿಷ್ಪಕ್ಷಪಾತವಾದಂಥ ತನಿಖೆ ಆಗಲಿ, ಯಾರು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ನಿಲುವು. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ
the BJP government has allotted to the MLA ministers and chairmen, board corporation chairmen, to collect money for the election purposes. So this shows that the BJP government is involved in corruption. It is a clear case of evidence to show that there is a corruption in the BJP government headed by Mr. Basavaraj Bommai. Mr. Basavaraj Bommai is asking.
ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತವನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಆದೇಶ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಗಲೇ ಕೋರ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು. ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಆದೇಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದ ಸಮೇತ. ಎರಡನೇದು, ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ಇಂಥ ಯಾವುದೇ ತಪ್ಪಿತಸ್ಥರಿದ್ದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದೆ, ಯಾರೇ ಅಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇವತ್ತು ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ತನಿಖೆಗಳ ಹಂತಗಳು ಮುಗಿದಿದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೇ ತಪ್ಪಿತಸ್ಥರಿದ್ದರೂ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಕಟಿಬದ್ಧ ಇದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು PSI ಹಗರಣ ಆದಾಗ ನಾವು ಹಿಂದೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ಹಗರಣ ಆದಾಗಲೂ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಠಿಣವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕ್ರಮ ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಯಾವುದೇ ದೋಷಾರೋಪಣೆಗಳಿತ್ತು ಅದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ತನಿಖೆ ಆಧಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆಗಳಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು.
हम पहले से जस्टिस के साथ है, कानून छोड़ को कोई काम नहीं करेंगे. कोई एमएलए का बेटा रहने दो, नहीं तो वो मंत्री का बेटा रहने दो, नहीं तो मुख्यमंत्री का बेटा रहने दो, हमारा कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. हमारा देश का प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी करप्शन नहीं जैसे अभी जो कुछ भी एमएलए का बेटा है ना, वो भी बाहर लोकायुक्त हमारा है. हम कभी ये इंसान के अंदर एक्शन जो कुछ भी ये सेक्शन के अंदर जो कुछ भी न्यायालय के अंदर क्या करना चाहिए, वो कानून के अंदर क्या क्या उसको प्रिकॉशनरी मेजर्स लेना चाहिए, वो सब भी हम पार्टी ले लेंगे।
देखो, इसके बारे में तो लोकल लीडर्स उसके बारे में जानकारी लेके वो बात करेंगे, लेकिन मैं ये कहता हूँ कि मोदी जी साफ सुथरा सरकार देने की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन वो कभी भी बेंगलुरु आके ना मोदी जी ना शाह कभी भी साफ सुथरी सरकार की बात नहीं करे। 40% का हमने नहीं बोला है, ये कॉन्ट्रैक्टरों ने, एसोसिएशन ने लिखकर प्राइम मिनिस्टर को दिया और ओपनली उन्होंने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस भी की।
If 40 lakh rupees is being taken in this fashion, how many hundreds and thousands of crores would have been taken by all these corrupt people in the BJP? What is the role of Industries Minister Nirani, whose department it is? What is the role of Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai? What is the responsibility of CM Basavaraj Bommai? Right under his nose, this brazen, blatant racket of corruption and loot of public money is going on. This brazen corruption tells us, Bharatiya Janata Party and Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, that you have looted Karnataka and this loot has to end.
Chief Minister does not know what his government is doing. I request him to look at what the Advocate General has argued in front of the High Court and Supreme Court with respect to closing of the ACB and Lokayukta. They have justified that it can coexist. I think Chief Minister needs to be briefed better by his officials. If he cannot be briefed by his officials properly, at least he should read the documents what his AGs are sending.
40% कमीशन चल रहा है कर्नाटक के अंदर। पेसीएम हो गए हैं, वहां पेसीएम का पोस्टर चल रहा है। तो कर्नाटक में तो ठेकेदार आत्महत्या कर रहा है कमीशन और रिश्वतखोरी से त्रस्त आके।
It is a case of trap. The complainants approached us. They provided us all the material. When the office was visited, the concerned office of the accused was visited, so he demanded and accepted the money, and he was caught red-handed. And that is the Panchanama. That is how the all procedure has been done. And there were other 3 persons who were waiting for giving bribe.
So learned that even MLA Malad Virupaksha is also one of the main accused in this particular case, where you have already found out close to 6 crore rupees in his apartment, sir. What is his role in this?
No, the role of MLA or his son or anybody else will be will only come out after the investigation. Okay. What is the exact role? What role they have
accused, sir? Is he accused in the case? MLA is accused in the case?
Yes. They are all accused there. And what is their precise role in the matter? It will be unearthed soon.
Anaga is getting us more details on that big story. Joining us from Bengaluru right now. Anaga, what embarrassment there for the BJP in a state headed to polls, just giving so much ammunition to the Congress, saying that where are the agencies now? This is corruption which has been caught red-handed.
That's right, Sneha. On one hand, you have all the top netas of BJP coming to Karnataka every week to campaign on behalf of their Vijay Sankalpa Yatra. And on the other hand, you have this dubious tag of a 40% sarkar that had been slapped against the BJP. And now it just looks like it is becoming true, because all these days, it just looked like the opposition was just shooting these ammunitions against the BJP. But now a very high profile case, a sitting MLA and his son have been accused in this corruption charge. 8 crore rupees is what we are talking about. 6 crore seized in the MLA's own residence, and that makes it even more fishy. And remember, even the MLA told India Today that he has got nothing to do with this. But if that was the case, why was 6 crore rupees found in his private room in his residence? That is number one. He is also a mandal.
Right, we'll of course keep coming back to you, Anaga, for more details on that story. Moving on, well, Rahul Gandhi has once again criticized the Indian government on foreign soil. The Congress MP from Wayanad, who delivered a speech at Cambridge University on the 1st of March, launched an attack on Modi Sarkar on several issues, claiming that the Indian democracy is under attack. Taking a jibe at the Prime Minister, he said that Modi is imposing his ideas on India and that the Prime Minister thinks Muslims and Christians in India are second-class citizens. He also said that minorities, the press and the opposition are under attack. Also raised the Pegasus issue, claiming that he was spied on by the government. Massive war of words has erupted over Gandhi's comments.
He is imposing an idea on India that India cannot absorb. Right? India, as I said, is a union of states. It's a negotiation. And if you try to force one idea on a union, it'll react. I've got a Sikh gentleman sitting here, right? He's from the Sikh religion. You come from India? He comes from India, right? We've got Muslims in India. We've got Christians in India. We've got different languages in India, right? They're all India. Mr. Narendra Modi says he's not. Mr. Narendra Modi says he's a second-class citizen in India. The institutional framework which is required for a democracy, parliament, the free press, the judiciary, just the idea of mobilization, just the idea of moving around, these are all getting constrained. So we are facing an attack on the basic structure of Indian democracy, right? Here you can see that picture. That picture is taken in front of Parliament House, and that's where a whole bunch of opposition members of Parliament were just standing there talking about certain issues, and we were just locked up and put in jail. And that's happened 3 or 4 times, right? And it's happened relatively violently. That's just an example. And you've also heard of the attack on minorities, the attack on the press. So you get a sense of what is going on. What we found as the opposition was that it's very difficult to communicate with people when you have this type of an assault on the media, on the democratic architecture. Capture and control of media and the judiciary, surveillance and intimidation. I myself had Pegasus on my phone. Large number of politicians have Pegasus on my phone, on their phone. I've been called by intelligence officers who tell me, listen, please be careful what you're saying on the phone because we are sort of recording this stuff. So this is a constant pressure that we feel. Cases on opposition. I've got number of criminal libel cases for things that, you know, should under no circumstances be criminal libel cases, but that's the story, right?
Now, those comments have generated a huge furor. Now, the Prime Minister also targeted the Grand Old Party after winning Tripura and Nagaland polls, accusing the Congress of appeasement politics. The Prime Minister said the BJP believes in Sabka Saath. He also fired Mar Ja, Mat Ja salvo at the Congress.
हमारे काम के तौर तरीकों में कोई भेदभाव नहीं होता। हम सबके विकास में भरोसा करते हैं। हम सबके लिए सेवा भाव से काम करते हैं। हमारी प्रेरणा है एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत। भाजपा का विकास मॉडल देश हित को सर्वोपरि रखता है। कुछ लोग कट्टर की पहचान में लगे हुए हैं। वो हर काम बेईमानी भी कट्टरता से करते हैं। ये कट्टर लोग कहते हैं मर जा मोदी। वो कहते हैं मर जा मोदी। देश कह रहे हैं मत जा मोदी मत जा। छोटे राज्यों को इस तरह तिरस्कार की भावना से देखकर कांग्रेस बहुत बड़ी गलती कर रही है। इसी सोच की वजह से कांग्रेस ने हमेशा देश के गरीब को छोटा समझा, देश के दलित, पिछड़ों, आदिवासियों को छोटा समझा। कांग्रेस ने हमेशा संख्या बल को, वोट बैंक को देखते हुए राजनीति की है। यही मानसिकता है जिसने आजादी के बाद देश का बहुत बड़ा नुकसान किया है। मैंने कहा अब कहावत और बदल गई है। बोले क्या? मैंने कहा पहले जो स्टेट्समैन होते हैं वो अगली पीढ़ी के लिए सोचते हैं। पहले कहा जाता था कि पॉलिटिशियन अगले चुनाव के लिए सोचते हैं, लेकिन आज तो समय ऐसा बदल गया है कि पॉलिटिशियन दूसरे दिन के अखबार में क्या छपेगा इस पर ही सोचते रहते हैं। शाम को टीवी में उनकी तस्वीर आएगी कि नहीं, यही सोचते रहते हैं।
Meanwhile, war of words is erupted between the BJP and the Congress over Rahul Gandhi's comments. Listen in.
क्या संवैधानिक संस्थाओं में भी कांग्रेस का विश्वास खत्म हो गया है? क्या भारत के लोकतंत्र भी बार बार प्रश्न चिन्ह खड़ा करने का काम ये कांग्रेस करती रहेगी? आज एक बार फिर चुनावों में तो सुपड़ा साफ हुआ ही, दिवालियापन और भी नजर आया जब विदेशी धरती पर जाकर भारत को बदनाम करने का कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी। पैगासस पे राहुल गांधी जी की क्या मजबूरी थी कि उन्होंने अपना मोबाइल फोन जमा नहीं करवाया? और वो नेता जो भ्रष्टाचार के चलते बेल पर है, ऐसा क्या था उनके मोबाइल फोन पे जो उनको अपना छिपाने की जरूरत थी? वो और अन्य नेताओं ने अपना मोबाइल फोन क्यों जमा नहीं करवाया? बार बार झूठ बोलना, विदेशी धरती का इस्तेमाल करना, विदेशी दोस्तों का, विदेशी एजेंसियों का इस्तेमाल करना, ये आदत सी बन गई है और भारत को बदनाम करने की आदत बन गई।
उनकी बातों का क्या कहना, उनकी सुई कहीं एक जगह अटक गई है, उनको थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ने की ज़रूरत है। थैंक यू। उनकी बातों का क्या कहना, उनकी सुई कहीं एक जगह अटक गई है, उनको थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ने की ज़रूरत है। थैंक यू।
बाहर बोलते हो कि हमने लोकतंत्र को बचाया, लोकतंत्र के तहत हम काम कर रहे हैं, ये सब वो जो एक भ्रम फैला रहे हैं, ये मोदी सरकार हमेशा यही चीजें करती आ रही है और बार बार सत्य से दूर बातें करके वो झूठे चीजें फैलाकर सबको, लोगों को एक गुमराह कर रही है।
So when Pegasus was happening, they were not ashamed of what their government was doing. When the government refused to cooperate in the investigation on Pegasus, they were not ashamed then. When BBC is getting raided, they are not ashamed then. But if you talk about all of this, they are ashamed. What nonsense. Does news have any geographical boundaries anymore? The bite I give to ANI today can be seen across the world within seconds. Can you stop that? Maybe they want to stop that also.
Why is he not raising questions on attack of Indians abroad? It's happening in Canada, it's happening in Australia. Not a word from him. The issue is he wants to create headlines wherever he goes, and in that process he loses votes in India because people of India have woken up. When you have woken up India and hallucinating Rahul Gandhi, I think you know what the results are going to be.
देश के 140 करोड़ लोगों की भावनाओं के साथ खिलवाड़ किया जा रहा है, किस तरीके से उनको मूर्ख बनाकर देश को बेचने का काम किया जा रहा है और महंगाई की मार के तले उनको दबाया जा रहा है।
राहुल गांधी का भी आपने वहाँ पे जो विदेश गए हुए हैं वहाँ पे उनके बयान जो आ रहे हैं वो भी सुना आपने, आप पार्टी का उस पर क्या कहना है?
देखिए, हर पार्टी को अपने ढंग से सोचने और विचार देने की स्वतंत्रता है, तो जो राहुल गांधी जी का विचार है उसके बारे में उनके पार्टी से पूछिए, हमारी पार्टी का जो विचार है, हमारी जो सोच है उसके बारे में हमसे पूछिए, हम बताएंगे आपको।
With that, time for a quick break here on the other side. Quad huddle after G20 foreign ministers meeting. S. Shankar chairs a meeting with Australia, Japan and US foreign ministers. Discusses China's Indo-Pacific moves.
You are watching India Today.
तो जैसे सबसे तेज आपकी टैगलाइन है, तो इसी तरह से सबसे तेज हमारी सरकार की लाइफलाइन है।
Leader must have a vision. We will continue to work with the developing and the developed world for win-win solutions.
Nature had of course willed the survival of the fittest.
हम आतंकवाद के खिलाफ जीरो टॉलरेंस की पॉलिसी को अपनाए हुए हैं।
एक साल के अंदर राहुल कन्वर की कार जो होगी वो इलेक्ट्रिक की होगी।
There is a confrontation of competing visions.
Many who understand sustainability understand slow fashion is the way to go. So what's the problem? Slow fashion can be more expensive, and more often than not is expensive compared to fast fashion. But there is a solution. Reuse, repurpose. Alternatively, go for something called as a closet detox. You can sell a big label on a pre-loved fashion platform to make the planet a better one so that all of that does not go into the landfill. What's more, you can even buy pre-loved clothing. Celebrities have now caught on to the pre-loved trend. Recently, Alia Bhatt, Deepika Padukone, Katrina Kaif and Anushka Sharma indulge in a closet detox, setting off a pre-loved revolution in India. While you give your closet a second life, remember you are also giving your planet another life. And with that, don't forget to reuse, repurpose, or alternatively, join the pre-loved revolution in India. In New Delhi with Vaishnavi Kaharwar, Chaiti Narula for India Today.
For a man who has lost $80 billion this year, the worst is not yet over for Gautam Adani. The billionaire entrepreneur now has not one but two high-level probes into his business affairs, and both the probes are monitored by none other than the Supreme Court. The Apex Court passed its judgment after hearing several petitions concerning the loss of investor wealth due to the massive plunge in Adani Group stocks. Total wealth erosion due to sell-off triggered by Hindenburg research report has topped 12 lakh crore rupees last week. In a crucial order, the Supreme Court set up a 6-member committee headed by retired High Court Chief Justice. The committee comprises known industry figures like banker K.V. Kamath and technocrat Nandan Nilekani. The committee has been tasked with providing an overall assessment of the situation, including causes and factors which led to volatility in the security market. The panel will also suggest measures to strengthen investor awareness. It will investigate if there has been regulatory failure in dealing with the alleged contravention of laws in relation to Adani Group and other companies. The panel will also suggest measures to strengthen the statutory and regulatory framework. Meanwhile, capital markets regulator SEBI will continue its existing probe into the Adani Hindenburg case. It has, however, been asked to investigate whether there has been a violation of the minimum shareholding laws. SEBI has also been asked by the Supreme Court to look into whether there has been a failure to disclose transactions with related parties in the Adani case. The regulator will look into whether there was any manipulation of stock prices in contravention of existing laws as well. The court has made it clear that its directions will not limit the contours of the ongoing SEBI investigation. Both the committee and SEBI have been asked to submit their report into Adani's affairs to the Supreme Court in 2 months. Gautam Adani welcomed the probe, tweeting that the order will bring finality in a time-bound manner, adding that the truth will prevail. The markets also welcomed the Supreme Court verdict, sending all 10 Adani Group shares into the green. The flagship Adani Enterprises closed up 2.8%. 5 of the 10 stocks hit the upper circuit. The surge in the group stocks added 30,000 crore rupees to the group market cap.
The next 2 months will be crucial as these reports will be filed before the court. After 2 months, it will be a big question for the Indian markets and the Indian investors as to what really went wrong and what will be done to tighten the system in the country. In New Delhi, with cameraman Ajay Thakur, this is Anisha Mathur for Business Today.
Well, a day after the mega G20 foreign ministers meeting in the national capital, External Affairs Minister Vijay Sankalp led a Quad huddle to discuss multiple global issues. Quad's main focus this year continued to be Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific region. The Australian Foreign Minister reiterated India's role as a global leader, highlighting a role in the Indo-Pacific region. Also, Japan sent across a stern message to China, saying that while the Quad isn't sidelining China, it is important for Beijing to abide by international law. At the meeting, the Quad released a joint statement in which they reaffirmed steadfast commitment to support a free and open Indo-Pacific, which is inclusive and resilient.
To me, right now, there are 3 big issues that the world needs to address and the Quad needs to address. And Quad can address, can make a difference. One, more reliable and resilient supply chains. 2, the whole, the digital challenge, trust and transparency when it comes to technologies, how do we live a more secure digital existence. And 3rd, connectivity. And I do see these as 3 big issues which in different ways the Quad needs to do together and also do with other countries, and I do expect that to be a greater part of our agenda. And new things which came out today, we agreed on a counter-terrorism working group. We agreed on cooperating more closely with the Indian Ocean Rim Association. We agreed that there would be a, we had earlier worked out a HADR initiative. So the standard operating procedures for that, which I think the military people would obviously see as a prerequisite for their cooperation. I think we coordinated on the UN to make sure that the processes of the UN are respected, and the workings of the UN stay true to its spirit. I was personally happy that there was a stronger expression of support from all of us collectively to the reform of the UN, to the fact that there would be intergovernmental negotiations on the reform. I also see that when it comes to sustainable development goals, which all of us are committed to, we believe that they should be pursued comprehensively, not cherry-picked for political convenience. We will be doing a maritime security working group very shortly in Washington, and we discussed, among other things, one of the outcomes we agreed on was that the listings of terrorists, the counter-terrorism side listings, should not be politicized. So these were some of the outcomes.
Even as we're rightly focused on what is happening in Ukraine as a result of the Russian aggression, not just because it matters to Ukrainians and to Ukraine and to Europe, but because it matters to the entire world. The principles that underlie the entire international system that are necessary for trying to keep peace and stability, that grew out of 2 world wars, are being challenged, being aggressed along with Ukraine. And part of the reason that countries way beyond Europe are also so focused on this and are working to support Ukraine and deal with the challenge is because they know it could have an effect here. If we allow, with impunity, Russia to do what it's doing in Ukraine, then that's a message to would-be aggressors everywhere that they may be able to get away with it too.
I could answer the question in power terms and in influence terms. I could talk about the extent to which India is a critical power, a great power in the region, that there is no reshaping of the Indo-Pacific with the attributes that Australia would seek without India. I'd also make the point, and I think we've seen that in not only in how Jai engages with the world and his narrative around it, but also Prime Minister Modi. India is a civilisational power, brings a different perspective to some of the challenges of these times.
So, like I said, this is not a military, but this is just practical cooperation, and we don't trying to exclude anybody. This is open architecture. So one thing we would like to say is to just abide by the law, international institutions, and as long as even China abide by the law of the international norm, and also act under the international institutions standards and rules, then this is not the conflicting issues between China and the Quad.
Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, meanwhile, was all guns blazing at the West as he addressed the Raisina dialogue today, called out the West from rampant sanctions and hypocrisy amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict.
A number of countries, again, called on Russia to end its aggression. And, this is a concern not just for Ukraine, not just for countries in Europe. It's a concern for the entire world because the consequences of Russia's aggression are being felt around the world.
Everybody is asking when Russia is ready to negotiate, when Russia is ready to negotiate. The West continuously is saying that it is not time to negotiate yet because Ukraine must win in the battlefield before any negotiations. And Zelensky himself, nobody calls on Zelensky asking him when he is going to negotiate, but you should have known, preparing for this topic at this meeting, that in September last year, Zelensky signed a decree making it a criminal offense to negotiate with Russia as long as Putin is president.
Unfortunately, tragically, Russia is persisting. It's true, it hasn't stopped. But as it's doing that, it is suffering tremendously. President Putin has inflicted terrible damage, not only on Ukraine, but on his own country. Public accounts say that Russia has suffered 200,000 casualties, killed and wounded in Ukraine. And he keeps throwing bodies into this war, a war of his own making. More than 1 million Russians have left the country.
Right.
They tend to be the most educated and most sophisticated in building a modern economy. 1,000 companies from around the world have left Russia. They're not doing business there because the reputational cost of doing business has gotten to be too great. So all of those things, as well as the sanctions and export controls, are having an increasingly heavy weight on Russia.
I am trying to explain to you that it is not black and white, that the sufferings of others are not related to what we are doing in Ukraine to defend ourselves at all. These sufferings are related to the sanctions, to the policy of blackmail, the policy of diktat, which the West is promoting. Putin explained in great detail before we started this operation why we are doing this, why we didn't have any other choice. The West condemned. Treat others as grown-ups, as mature people. Don't tell them what position to take. The developing world basically was silent until the West started blackmailing them, threatening them, sanctioning those who would not sanction Russia.
It's time for a break. Here on the other side, Rahul Gandhi criticizes India and Cambridge University, accuses the centre of spying on him, says Modi is hampering democracy in India.
You are watching India Today.
वो कहते हैं मर जा मोदी, देश कह रहे हैं मत जा मोदी, मत जा.
Modi roars after the NDA sweep in the northeast. In his address to the BJP cadre and leaders at the party headquarters in the national capital, right after the party's success in the assembly polls, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tore into the Congress.
भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की.
Starting his address with Bharat Mata Ki Jai chants, Prime Minister Modi launched direct attack at the Grand Old Party. In a veiled reference to slogans raised by a Congress leader, the Prime Minister said that while his rivals want him gone, the people of the country want him to stay.
ये कट्टर लोग कहते हैं मर जा मोदी, वो कहते हैं मर जा मोदी, देश कह रहे हैं मत जा मोदी, मत जा.
He further went on to say that Congress leaders wish for Modi's grave to be dug, but instead, lotus is blooming.
जब कुछ लोग मोदी की कब्र खोदने की ख्वाहिश कर रहे हैं, जहां मौका पड़ता है कमल खिलता ही जा रहा है, खिलता ही जा रहा है.
Accusing the Congress of ignoring the Northeast, Prime Minister said that poll results have exposed Congress party's real face. Having won the Northeast, Prime Minister Modi set a new target for his party: win Kerala.
कांग्रेस कह रही है और अध्यक्ष उनके कह रहे हैं कि ये तो छोटे राज्य हैं, इनके नतीजे उतना मायने नहीं रखते. जब दिल में ही भारत को जोड़ने की भावना ना हो तो ऐसे बोल निकलते ही हैं. मुझे विश्वास है कि आने वाले वर्षों में भी जैसे नागालैंड में हुआ है, जैसे मेघालय में हुआ है, जैसे गोवा में होता रहा है, केरला में भी भाजपा गठबंधन की सरकार बनेगी।
रिलेशनशिप में घुसना आसान है, उसमें से निकलना मुश्किल। रिश्ता जोड़ना आसान है, तोड़ना मुश्किल। इसलिए झूठ बोल के पकड़वाना नहीं है, बल्कि झूठ बोल के सच में छुपाना है, फिर 2 और झूठों में छुपाना है, फिर सच में छुपा के।
Pictures coming in of the bulldozers getting rolled in once again. This is Yogi Adityanath versus the Mafia Raj. Third day of the demolition today. Bulldozer running on Masukuddin's house. Authorities have arrived with Pokeland and JCB. More than 16 cases are registered against this man, Masukuddin, whose house is going to be bulldozed in Prayagraj Dhumanaganj colony. Along with Masukuddin, cases also registered against his sons, Shah Zaman and Shah Fateh. This in many police stations in Prayagraj. 10 cases registered against Masukuddin's nephew Aslub as well. Masukuddin is registered in various sections, including the Gunda Act, attempt to murder, murder robbery. His 2 sons and nephews have more than 40 cases registered against them. Once again, the bulldozers are getting rolled in. It's the third day of the demolition, remember. The bulldozer running on Masukuddin's house. Authorities there have now arrived. As you can see in these pictures, the structure is getting raised down. More than 16 cases are registered against him. House is getting bulldozed. This is in Prayagraj again. Along with Masukuddin, cases also registered against his sons, Shah Zaman and Shah Fateh. This across police stations in Prayagraj. In fact, he too is a close aide of Atiq Ahmed, one of the key conspirators in the Umesh Pal case. Masukuddin's house is getting razed down once again. This, of course, after the UP Chief Minister promised this sort of action against the mafia, against Gundas. An example of this being seen again in Prayagraj, where the house is getting razed down by that bulldozer. This too is a house of Atiq's aide, Masukuddin. Cases are registered against his sons and him. He is a history sheeter in that sense. At least 10 cases registered against Masukuddin and his sons across many police stations in Prayagraj. This comes at a time when the Chief Minister of UP, Yogi Adityanath, has gained the, is really known as the bulldozer Baba for the kind of action that is often taken against the mafia and against Gundas in Uttar Pradesh. Often we've seen these bulldozers raise down illegal structures, even when the case trial is underway. The man whose house is getting razed down right now is Masukuddin. He is an aide of Atiq Ahmed, who of course is a Neta turned Gunda, accused and a key conspirator in the Umesh Pal murder case. Abhishek Mishra has more details on that story. Abhishek, get us more details about Masukuddin. Essentially is an aide of Atiq. What more can you tell us?
Well, certainly the action is again continuing in this whole matter, and we've seen how, the government and all the top officials, specifically in this case, are now one by one taking the action, and again, this action has been taken. The property belongs to the son of Mukhtar Ansari, and that is what is happening here. At the same time, it is also very important with the kind of, things have been made clear by the Yogi Adityanath government that if there is any kind of involvement, then certainly such an action will be taken. And once again, this is quite evident what is happening right now. And again, the Yogi Adityanath government and the police officials are there and taking the action in charge.
But what more about this man? Also, he's a history sheeter. His family members, his sons, nephews, all of them have cases registered against them.
Well, yes, certainly. And moreover, it is important that the son of Mukhtar Ansari and Umar Ansari, he has the possession of 2-floor buildings, this house, and at the same time, a police force has been deployed there in big capacity, and it's all set to get demolished as soon as possible because it has been found as illegal property once again. The kind of clearance which was required is not given, and as far as the profile is concerned, yes, he's indeed a history sheeter, a lot of cases against him. But time again, the Yogi Adityanath government and their ministers have made it again and again clear that whosoever is found, an unlawful activity or a construction which is illegal, they will not waste any time demolishing it, and that's again something which is again happening today in Mao.
So in that sense, there is an indirect link to the Umesh Pal murder case also, given that Mukhtar Ansari's kin essentially are under the scanner, isn't it? And you said that one of the floors belongs to him. Abhishek? Okay, we'll just go back to Abhishek to get more details of this demolition. In fact, these are pictures coming in from Prayagraj. This is a house of Atiq Ahmed's aide, Masukuddin essentially. Atiq Ahmed, remember, is a key conspirator in the Umesh Pal murder. The house is that of an aide of Atiq Ahmed, but however, the man in question, Masukuddin, by far has not seen to be involved in the Umesh Pal murder. However, this is in perfect line with what has been promised by the UP Chief Minister in terms of the action that they are taking against several mafias, gangs, gundas in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Not the first time that bulldozers have been raised in, and certainly not the last. In fact, this is continuing demolition activity that we've seen. The third day essentially today of demolition that we've been seeing in Prayagraj. Earlier, MP Atiq Ahmed's wife, Shaista Parveen's house had been demolished as well. This by the Prayagraj Development Authority. And now this is Masukuddin's house in aid of, again, Atiq Ahmed getting demolished. A known history sheeter, however, not believed to be involved as of now in the Umesh Pal case. But this is in aid of Atiq Ahmed that is getting demolished. Pictures coming in from Prayagraj. And this is in line with what has always been promised by UP Chief Minister, that bulldozers will raise down the illegal structures of gundas, is what is being said. And that's exactly what is being done.
करके 40 मुकदमे दर्ज हैं। यह मकान मसकुद्दीन की बहू के नाम पर दर्ज है। यह उनकी बहू और उनके जो बेटे हैं, बताया जा रहा है कि एक जो बेटा है वो टीचर भी बताया जा रहा है, उनकी पत्नी के नाम पर दर्ज है। लेकिन पुलिस के सूत्रों के अनुसार कि ये इन्वेस्टमेंट था मसकुद्दीन का, जो अपराध से अर्जित संपत्ति बताई जा रही थी। वहीं दूसरी तरफ 40 से अधिक मुकदमे दर्ज हैं। अतीक अहमद का बेहद करीबी बताया जा रहा है मसकुद्दीन को। पूरा मुफ्ती थाना है प्रयागराज का, वहाँ का हिस्ट्री शीटर है मसकुद्दीन। और ये जो मकान है, इस मकान को लेकर के एक बात सामने आई कि बगल में एयरफोर्स स्टेशन है। एयरफोर्स स्टेशन की ज़मीन को कब्जा करके इस मकान को बनाए जाने की बात आई। हालांकि परिवार वालों का कहना है कि ये उनकी पुश्तैनी ज़मीन है जिसको मसकुद्दीन ने अपनी बहू को दान में दे दिया, और ये दान का जो एग्रीमेंट है रजिस्टर्ड है। वो उस रजिस्टर्ड एग्रीमेंट के बाद उसके बाद इस मकान को लोन लेने के बाद बनाया है। लेकिन प्रयागराज विकास प्राधिकरण का कहना है कि ये जो ज़मीन ज़मीन है, इस ज़मीन को एयरफोर्स की ज़मीन बताई गई और जिस पर यह बुलडोज़र चल रहा है। बहरहाल मसकुद्दीन और उनके 2 बेटों और उनके 2 भतीजों पर 40 से ज़्यादा मुकदमे दर्ज हैं। मसकुद्दीन पूरा मुफ्ती थाने के हिस्ट्री शीटर हैं, जिनके इस मकान को इनकी बहू के नाम पर कागजों में ये दर्ज है, लेकिन प्रशासन के अधिकारियों का कहना है कि ये सिर्फ बहू के नाम का इस्तेमाल किया गया है। इसमें असल पैसा मसकुद्दीन का लगा है, जो कि अपराध से अर्जित कमाई है, जो उनके हनक से अतीक अहमद के करीबी होने के चलते जो पैसा कमाया उससे ये मकान खड़ा किया गया, जिसको आज जमींदोज किया जा रहा है। ये सबसे बड़ी बात कि प्रयागराज के पूरा मुफ्ती थाना क्षेत्र का ये इलाका है, ये आउटर इलाका है प्रयागराज का, ग्रामीण इलाका। इसके बाद कौशाम्बी जिला शुरू हो जाता है, वहाँ पर ये मकान बनाया गया। बगल में एयरफोर्स स्टेशन है प्रयागराज का, वहाँ पर ये मकान बनाया गया और हाईवे के किनारे ही है। करोड़ों की ज़मीन है, ये करीब 500 गज में, ये स्क्वायर 500 गज में बना हुआ ये मकान है और जिसकी कीमत यहाँ पर 3 से 4 करोड़ से कम नहीं आंकी जा रही है। लेकिन प्रयागराज विकास प्राधिकरण का कहना है कि पूरा मकान बिना नक्शा पास करवाए तो बना ही था, लेकिन पुलिस का अपना क्राइम एंगल भी है कि अतीक अहमद के करीबी मसकुद्दीन जो हिस्ट्री शीटर है, जो कभी अतीक अहमद के लिए शूटर के तौर पर काम किया, उनकी ये ज़मीन है, उनके द्वारा ये अपनी बहू को दिखाने के लिए कागज़ों में कानून से बचने के लिए ये ज़मीन दी गई और जिस पर ये मकान खड़ा है, जिसको आज जमींदोज किया जा रहा है। देखिए किस तरीके से बुलडोज़र और जेसीबी मशीनें एक साथ काम कर रही हैं। देखिए जो 2 तस्वीरें आप सामने देख रहे हैं, दोनों तरफ से पूरे मकान को गिराया जा रहा है।
Abhishek Mishra getting us all of those details and the pictures at ground report saying that this in fact has been this house, this illegal structure has been constructed on a piece of land that is in fact not where this structure was to come up. There is illegality in terms of the construction of this structure. However, speaking volumes of the kind of action that is being taken against the mafia and gundas in the state of Uttar Pradesh, bulldozers are getting, in fact, once again they are getting rolled into these colonies in Prayagraj. This essentially is the 3rd day of the bulldozer activity.
से मसकुद्दीन और कोई मतलब नहीं है, ये सिर्फ अपराध से अर्जित संपत्ति है। अपराध से अर्जित संपत्ति के चलते ये अतीक अहमद गैंग से संबंध होने के कारण मसकुद्दीन की संपत्ति को जमींदोज किया जा रहा है और जिसके बाद अब ये जो एक्शन हो रहा है, ये जो देख रहे हैं आप कि बुलडोज़र चलाए जा रहे हैं, चारों तरफ से बुलडोज़र चलाया जा रहा है और इस पर ये जो एक्शन हो रहा है, इसको पुलिस ने आपराधिक एंगल तो दिया है कि अतीक अहमद गैंग से जुड़े रहे, अतीक अहमद के लिए शूटर का काम करते थे, लेकिन जिस उमेश पाल हत्याकांड की बात की जा रही है, उस उमेश पाल हत्याकांड से आज मसकुद्दीन जिनकी बहू का घर ये गिराया जा रहा है, उसके कोई मतलब नहीं है, कोई कनेक्शन अभी तक नहीं बताया गया, कोई कनेक्शन अभी नज़र नहीं आ रहा, लेकिन क्राइम एंगल ज़रूर है, क्राइम कनेक्शन ज़रूर है मसकुद्दीन का और अतीक कनेक्शन भी है। अतीक के गैंग से जुड़े रहे हैं, अतीक के बेहद करीबी रहे हैं। अधिकारियों का कहना है कि वो तो अतीक के लिए शूटर का काम करते रहे और यही वजह है कि मसकुद्दीन, उनको दोनों बेटे और भतीजों पर कुल 40 मुकदमे दर्ज हैं। इवन मसकुद्दीन पर 16 मुकदमे दर्ज हैं। तो ये बड़ी कार्रवाई अतीक अहमद के गैंग के ऊपर की जा रही है।
Members of the Atiq Ahmed gang being targeted one by one is what Abhishek Mishra is in fact telling us. Again, the bulldozers have rolled into this locality in Prayagraj, razing down a structure that belongs to the aid of Atiq Ahmed, the key conspirator in the Umesh Pal murder case. And this is the 3rd day of this demolition activity that we've seen by the Prayagraj Development Authority. Action that had been promised by the Chief Minister of UP against gundas.
गैंगस्टर एक्ट में 14(1) की कार्रवाई होती है। ये नियम कहता है कि अगर अपराध से अर्जित संपत्ति को खड़ा किया गया है, उदाहरण के तौर पर अगर आज मार्च 2023 के बाद से संतोष मेरे नाम पर अगर कोई संपत्ति आती है और आज ही पहली एफआईआर दर्ज होती है, जिस दिन से पहली एफआईआर दर्ज होगी उसके बाद से अर्जित सारी संपत्ति अपराध से अर्जित संपत्ति मानी जाती है और उसको गैंगस्टर एक्ट में जब कार्रवाई करते हैं, संपत्ति जब्तीकरण की, संपत्ति के ध्वस्तीकरण की कार्रवाई होती है, तब इस कार्रवाई को अंजाम दिया जाता, बुलडोज़र चलता है। ये पुलिस एक्शन हो गया। वहीं दूसरी तरफ जो दो और तरीके हैं जिस पर बुलडोज़र चलाया जाता वो है एक सरकारी ज़मीन पर कब्जा करके, कि ये सरकारी ज़मीन, किसी भी सरकारी ज़मीन, चाहे वो ग्राम समाज की ज़मीन हो, जैसे कि इस ज़मीन को बताया जा रहा है कि एयरफोर्स की ज़मीन है, हालांकि परिवार इसको खरीद कर रहा है, उनका कहना है ये हमारी पुश्तैनी ज़मीन है। तो अगर किसी सरकारी ज़मीन को कब्जा करके कोई इमारत खड़ी की गई है तो उस पर बुलडोज़र चलाया जाएगा, उस सरकारी ज़मीन को खाली कराया जाएगा। और तीसरा जो प्रावधान है वो कहता है कि अगर किसी भी निजी ज़मीन पर कोई इमारत खड़ी होती है लेकिन वो लोकल बॉडी, लोकल अथॉरिटी से, चाहे वो डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी हो या म्यूनसिपल कॉरपोरेशन हो, उससे अगर उसका मैप पास नहीं है या नक्शे से अधिक वो बनाया गया तो उसको जमींदोज किया जाएगा। इन 3 फैक्टर्स के साथ ही बुलडोज़र चलाया जाता है। क्राइम एंगल होगा, यानी कि अपराध सर्जित संपत्ति होगी, और अगर बिना नक्शा पास कराए सरकारी ज़मीन पर कब्जा करके संपत्ति खड़ी होगी तो इन 3 परिस्थितियों में ही बुलडोज़र चलाया जाएगा। और यहाँ पर मसकुद्दीन में तो तीनों कनेक्शन हैं, ये अतीक अहमद के भी करीबी रहे हैं, वहीं दूसरी तरफ इनके खुद के ऊपर, इनके परिवार के दोनों बेटे, इनके भतीजे के ऊपर 40 मुकदमे दर्ज हैं, मसकुद्दीन के ऊपर 16 मुकदमे दर्ज हैं, पूरा मुफ्ती थाने के हिस्ट्री शीटर बताए गए हैं। तो अपराध से अर्जित संपत्ति की आशंका जताई गई है। हालांकि कागज़ में मैं फिर कहना चाहूँगा कि दस्तावेज़ों में ये मकान मसकुद्दीन की बहू के नाम पर दर्ज है जो सरकारी टीचर है, और सबसे बड़ी बात कि इस मकान पर लोन भी लिया गया है। तो ये कागज़ों में ये किया गया है, लेकिन पुलिस को अंदेशा है कि ये अपराध सर्जित संपत्ति। और दूसरी तरफ एक तर्क ये भी सामने आ रहा है कि एयरपोर्ट की सरकारी ज़मीन पर कब्जा करके मकान बनाया गया है। परिवार इसका भी तर्क अपना दे रहा है कि उनके पास कागजात हैं।
Getting in details from the bulldozer that is now in fact razing down an illegal structure, as is being said by the Prayagraj Development Authority, of an aid of Atiq Ahmed. In fact, we've seen several instances of bulldozers getting rolled in, razing down illegal structures belonging to members of these gangs. This is in fact a member of the Atiq Ahmed gang, Masukuddin.
इस मकान में अभी कोई रह नहीं रहा था। ये मकान तैयार करके, जिसको कहते हैं कि कुरान खानी करके, यानी पूजा पाठ करने के बाद इसमें शुरू होनी थी, इसमें रहना शुरू करते, लेकिन उससे पहले इसको जमींदोज किया जा रहा है। आज सबसे बड़ी बात कि यहाँ पर जो लोग भी सामने आ रहे हैं वो लोग या तो जो मकान मालिकिन है, मतलब जो मसकुद्दीन की जो बहू है, उनके चाचा, उनके पिताजी नज़र आ रहे हैं। मसकुद्दीन के दोनों बेटे यहाँ पर अभी मुझे नज़र नहीं आ रहे। मैंने सभी से पूछा कि मसकुद्दीन कौन है, उनके पति कौन है, तो वो नज़र नहीं आ रहे हैं, लेकिन वो महिला नज़र आई, लेकिन उनसे बात नहीं हो पाई। उनके चाचा और पिताजी से हमारी ज़रूर बात हुई, जो मसकुद्दीन के जो समधी हैं उनसे बात हुई, तो उनका कहना है कि ये तो मकान उनकी बेटी के नाम पर दर्ज है, और जब बेटी के नाम पर दर्ज है, बाकायदा लोन लिया हुआ है, तब उसको क्यों गिराया जा रहा है। लेकिन इसके नाम पर लोन भी लिया हुआ है, लेकिन प्रशासन का कहना है कि एयरपोर्ट की ज़मीन को कब्जा करके बनाया गया। और जाहिर है कि बगल में, मैं बताऊं कि इस मकान के ठीक बगल में मुझे एयरफोर्स की बाउंड्री भी नज़र आ रही है। जो मकान है यहाँ से महज 50 मीटर की दूरी पर ही एयरफोर्स की बाउंड्री होती है। प्रशासन कह रहा है कि एयरफोर्स की ज़मीन पर कब्जा करके बनाया गया है, और वहीं घर वालों का कहना है कि ये उनकी पुश्तैनी ज़मीन है। दस्तावेज़ वो दिखा रहे हैं, उसका दाखिल खारिज दिखा रहे हैं, उसका लोन बता रहे हैं कि इस पर लोन लिया गया है, करीब 40 लाख रुपए की कॉस्ट पर यह मकान खड़ा किया गया है। बहरहाल प्रशासन ने आज प्रयागराज विकास प्राधिकरण ने अतीक अहमद गैंग से जुड़े मसकुद्दीन के मकान को जमींदोज किया है। ये मकान दस्तावेज़ों में मसकुद्दीन की जो बहू हैं उनके नाम पर दर्ज बताया जा रहा है। जी गौरव जी।
Bulldozers there, in fact, pulling down illegal structures as per the orders of the government there, and in line with what has been said by Chief Minister of UP, that this kind of action, but bulldozers raising down illegal structures and members of such gangs like this one is going to continue. This is the house of Masukuddin, part of the gang of Atiq Ahmed, remember, who is in fact facing charges of involvement in the Umesh Pal murder case. He's a neta turned goon.
दिन है। पहले मकान से शुरू करते हैं। जफ़र अहमद खान का मकान था जिसको गिराया गया, जिसको बिना नक्शा पास करवाए बनाया गया। जफ़र अहमद खान के वकील, जो अतीक अहमद के भी वकील हैं, वो कहा गया कि ये मकान खरीदा गया और उसमें शाइस्ता रहती थी, जो अतीक अहमद की पत्नी है वो रहती थी। उनके मकान को गिराया गया। कल जिसका मकान गिराया गया वो एसएसए गन हाउस है यहाँ पर जॉनसन रोड में प्रयागराज में, उनके मकान को गिराया गया। हालांकि पुलिस प्रशासन का कहना था कि वो अतीक अहमद से जुड़े हैं, लेकिन उनका वो पूरा परिवार सामने आया था। देखिए आज जो 3 दिनों में कार्रवाई हुई है, ये पहली कल जो जिनका घर गिराया गया था उनके घर वो पहली बार सामने आए थे, उनका पूरा परिवार सामने आया था। और उनके परिवार का कहना है, जो घर के मालिक थे उनके दोनों बेटे थे जिनका एसएसए गन हाउस है, उनका कहना है कि हमारा अतीक अहमद से कोई रिलेशन नहीं है, हम तो यहाँ पर रह रहे हैं और हमें प्रयागराज विकास प्राधिकरण ने कभी नोटिस भी नहीं दिया। तो अभी कोई भी परिवार अभी कोर्ट की शरण में तो नहीं जाने की बात सामने आई है, लेकिन इतना ज़रूर है कि उनकी अपनी नाराज़गी है। कल जिस तरीके से नाराज़गी आई थी कि हमें नोटिस नहीं दिया गया, और वहीं दूसरी तरफ आज भी जिस तरीके से परिवार की नाराज़गी है कि हमको बताया नहीं गया। और सबसे बड़ी बात कि मसकुद्दीन का ये मकान नहीं है, उनका कहना है ये मकान तो उनकी बहू के नाम पर दर्ज है, बहू ने ये लिया हुआ मकान, बहू को उन्होंने ये ज़मीन दान में दी थी और जिस पर उसने अपना लोन लेकर के मकान बनवाया है। तो ये एक बड़ी बात है जिस पर मसकुद्दीन के बहू के मकान के ऊपर ये कार्रवाई की जा रही है। हालांकि जो पुलिस के अफसर हैं कैंप जी
And the bulldozer action continues against the mafia and gundas in the state of Uttar Pradesh. And this comes just few days after, on the floor of the assembly, also Yogi Adityanath had spoken about crushing the mafia raj in Uttar Pradesh. Mafia ko mitti mein mila denge is what was said by Chief Minister of UP, and that's exactly what's happening. While the person whose house is getting razed says that this is not illegal. And this is in fact his daughter-in-law's house.
जब से उत्तर प्रदेश में बुलडोजर चलना शुरू किया है, तब से अपराधियों की संपत्ति की जब भी चर्चा हुई तो अतीक अहमद और मुख्तार अंसारी, ये 2 नाम ऐसे थे कि या तो उनके परिवार वालों, उनके नज़दीकियों, उनके गुर्गों, उनके लोगों पर संपत्ति पर बुलडोजर चला है। और अतीक अहमद के गैंग के ऊपर जिस तरीके से आरोप लगा कि बीते शुक्रवार को उमेश पाल हत्याकांड को अंजाम दिया गया, उस उमेश पाल हत्याकांड के बाद से ये तेज़ी ज़रूर आई है। यह अभियान पहले से चल रहा था, लेकिन उमेश पाल हत्याकांड के बाद से तेज़ी ज़रूर आई है कि लगातार 3 दिनों से बुलडोज़र चल रहा है। पहले दिन ज़फ़र अहमद खान के घर पर, जिसने अतीक की पत्नी को शरण दी थी और जहां पर शूटर शाइस्ता से मिलने गए थे। दूसरा मकान सफदर अली का, जो सफदर अली गन हाउस चलाते हैं, लेकिन उनका अतीक अहमद गैंग से कोई कनेक्शन सामने नहीं आया, कोई क्राइम कनेक्शन सामने नहीं आया, कोई उमेश पाल हत्याकांड से कनेक्शन सामने नहीं आया। आज तीसरा दिन जो मसकुद्दीन का, जिनका बताया जा रहा है कि मसकुद्दीन की ये बहू के नाम पर ये मकान दर्ज है, मसकुद्दीन के ऊपर ज़रूर मुकदमे दर्ज हैं, उनके दोनों बेटे और भतीजों, कुल मिलाकर के 40 के लगभग मुकदमे दर्ज हैं। वो पूरा मुफ्ती के हिस्ट्री शीटर बताए जा रहे हैं, अतीक अहमद के भी करीबी बताए गए हैं, जिस पर कि ये कहा जा रहा है कि प्रशासन का कहना है, पुलिस सूत्रों का कहना है कि ये मकान बेसिकली मसकुद्दीन ने अपनी जो अपराध से जो कमाई थी उसको इन्वेस्टमेंट के तौर अपनी कागज़ों में अपने आप को बचाने के लिए उन्होंने ये मकान, ये ज़मीन अपनी बहू को दान में रजिस्टर्ड कर दी थी और जिसके बाद ये मकान बनाया गया। लेकिन जो परिवार का कहना है कि उनका लोन के द्वारा मकान बनाया गया। प्रयागराज विकास प्राधिकरण ने उमेश पाल हत्याकांड के बाद करीब 2 दर्जन ऐसे लोगों को चिन्हित किया है जो अतीक अहमद के करीबी हैं, चाहे वो गुड्डू मुस्लिम हो, मोहम्मद फैज़ान हो, या जो भी नाम सामने आ रहे हैं। जो अतीक अहमद, उमेश पाल हत्याकांड के साथ तमाम ऐसे लोग हैं जिनकी जानकारी है कि ये अतीक अहमद के दम पर प्रॉपर्टी डीलिंग कर रहे हैं, गुंडई कर रहे हैं, बदमाशी कर रहे हैं, जिनका अपना हिस्ट्री शीट है, चाहे वो गुड्डू मुस्लिम हो, चाहे मोहम्मद गुलाम हो, या दूसरे नाम अरमान का नाम सामने आया। तो ऐसे तमाम लोग जिनके की कनेक्शन सामने आ रहा है अतीक अहमद या उमेश पाल हत्याकांड से, उन सभी की फेहरिस्त तैयार की गई है और उन सभी के ऊपर बुलडोजर चलाने की बात की जा रही है।
This kind of action will continue is what our reporters are telling us from the ground. This is a huge gang run by known history sheeter Atik Ahmed. He's a Neta turned gangster, currently in jail. He's been charged in several murder cases and has got several criminal cases lodged against him. The latest one, of course, is in connection with the murder of Umesh Pal, the main witness in the murder of BSP MLA Raju Pal in the year 2005.
लोग हैं वो तो मौजूद हैं, उन्होंने तो अपना पक्ष रखा, लेकिन यहाँ पे दोनों ही पक्ष हैं। कैमरे पर तो कोई नहीं, चूँकि दो ही धड़े हैं। या तो जो लोग प्रशासन को जिनको अच्छा लग रहा है तो वो लोग यहाँ पर इसलिए नहीं बोल रहे हैं ये पूरा अतीक अहमद का इलाका है लिहाजा, और जो लोग अतीक अहमद या इस कार्रवाई के विरोध में हैं तो प्रशासन के डर की वजह से नहीं बोल रहे हैं। तो ये कहा जा सकता है कि मसकुद्दीन जिनके की ये बहू का ये मकान गिराया जा रहा है, यहाँ पर पूरा ये इलाका है, ये एयरफोर्स स्टेशन के बगल में है। आसपास लोग ज़रूर हैं, पुलिस फोर्स ने उनको दूर कर रखा है। यहाँ पर सिर्फ प्रशासनिक अधिकारी हैं, प्रयागराज विकास प्राधिकरण के लोग हैं। जो बुलडोज़र चल रहा है, अब बुलडोज़र एक तरफ से चलना शुरू हुआ है, दूसरी तरफ भी बुलडोज़र चल रहे थे, अब दोनों बुलडोज़र एक ही तरफ हो गए हैं। तो यानी कि ये देर में आज कार्रवाई शुरू हुई, लगभग 1:30 पौने 2 बजे के करीब ये लेट में कार्रवाई शुरू हुई। ये कार्रवाई अमूमन 11 बजे शुरू हो जाती थी, लेकिन आज ये लेट कार्रवाई शुरू हुई, लिहाजा एक साथ सारे बुलडोज़र काम कर रहे हैं। माना जा रहा है कि करीब 1.5 से 2 घंटे की मशक्क़त के बाद इस मकान को ज़मींदोज़ कर दिया जाएगा, क्योंकि ये निष्प्रयोज्य करने की एक मंशा होती है कि निष्प्रयोज्य कर दिया जाए, यानी कि दोबारा उसका यूज़ ना किया जा सके। तो ये देखिए बुलडोज़र अपना काम करना शुरू कर दिया है। एक बुलडोज़र बाहर की तरफ जा रहा है, दूसरा बुलडोज़र लेकिन अपना काम कर रहा है, और एक और बुलडोज़र जिसको पोकलैंड मशीन कहते हैं वो दूसरी तरफ से मकान को गिरा रहा है। मकान के सामने से जो पूरा हिस्से को गिराने के बाद अब ये साइड से मकान को, और ये देखिए ये पूरा मकान, ये एक हिस्सा पूरा भरभरा कर गिर गया।
Finally, the structure has in fact come down, is what our reporters are telling us, getting us that detailed report and live images on your screen with visuals coming in from Prayagraj, where the house of an aide of Atik Ahmed has been razed down. This in line with what has been promised by UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath in terms of this kind of action being taken against illegal structures constructed by several gundas in the state of Uttar Pradesh. In fact, not the first time that that a structure like this has come down belonging to a history sheeter. This is Masukuddin and aide of Atik Ahmed. And we have these pictures live from Prayagraj, where the house has been brought down. JCBs brought in, these are bulldozers that have been rolled into these colonies in Prayagraj as ordered by the Prayagraj Development Authority. Pictures of demolition in Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj, and this is action, remember, that has been taken against those people who have not one, not two, but dozens of cases registered against them. Santosh, my colleague, is there, right there, getting us the very latest. Santosh, what more can you tell us about this demolition activity? And this essentially is going to continue, isn't it?
What I have heard I'm sending you the information. This is the third day the action is going on. Prayagraj Development Authority, the local development authority, on this third day started his drive to demolish the house of one Safakuddin. He is a history sheeter called and very close aide of Atik Ahmed. 3 machines have been deployed to demolish this house. On paper, this house belongs to Masakuddin, daughter-in-law, and she is a government teacher. And her father claims that there is no relation of Masakuddin. He has gifted him this land, and their daughter took loan as she is a government teacher. But the government officials claiming that this is the investment of Masakuddin, who invested his illegal income in this house. And on the other side, one more reason is this, that this land is claimed to be of Air Force. Besides the family members claiming that this land is their ancestral property, and Masakuddin gave this ancestral property as a gift to his daughter-in-law, and after gift deed she constructed this whole house. But today Prayagraj Development Authority started a drive to demolish one of the close aide of Atik Ahmed, the history sheeter of local police station, that is Pura Mufti of Prayagraj. On crime record we can say say in Masakuddin, his two sons and one nephew. Total 14 cases, criminal cases have been registered in Prayagraj in different police stations, including Dhumanganj, Pura Mufti, Karnalganj and other police stations. Even in Kausambi, a nearby district, some cases are also being registered on Mufti and his nephew. So we can say there's a crime connection, Atiq connection of the property which is going to be demolished. But one thing is very clear, that there is a no Umesh Pal murder case connection in this demolition. This is the third day, and on this third day of demolition drive started by Prayagraj Development Authority, there is no connection of Umesh Pal murder case. There is only one connection, that is Atiq Ahmed gang connection. Masakuddin is claimed to be a very close aide of Atiq Ahmed gang. So the action is going on. What we are seeing, exactly 3 bulldozing machines are working. One is drilling the home, the pillars, cemented pillars, and the other Pukline machine is demolishing the house on the other side. So within, we can expect within 2 hours this whole demolition drive will complete and this whole house will be demolished.
You are picking up, give us a sense of what kind of action then is going to be taken against the others who are a part of the gang of Atiq Ahmed.
Please repeat the question.
There will be more action against those members of the gang of Atiq Ahmed, whether or not they have involvement in the Umesh Pal murder case, isn't it?
As the action in Umesh Pal murder case is concerned, there is no arresting till now. 1 week has been spent and no arresting is done. Only Sadakat is one who was the conspirator of Umesh Pal murder case, who gave his hostel room to gather those shooters in his room, and only one arresting and one encounter, who was the driver of that Creta car, had been shot in an encounter with police. But those who came in the visuals, those who shot Umesh Pal, those who bombarded Umesh Pal, there is no arresting. 7 persons have been identified. One is Muhammad Ghulam, other is Guddu Muslim, third one is Sabir, fourth one is Asad, who is claimed to be Atiq Ahmed's son. And there is no arresting in Umesh Pal murder case, those who have captured in the CCTV camera. So we can say after 1 week of Umesh Pal murder case, there is no arresting, no action on those criminals who have committed this crime. But those who are associated with Atiq Ahmed, those who have...
Right. Santosh getting us all of those details. We'll continue tracking that big story from Prayagraj, where the demolition activity continues. With that report, it's time for a break. Here on the other side is an India Today exclusive. Antony Blinken, US Secretary of State, speaks to India Today.
You are watching India Today.
India Today Conclave 2023, March 17th and 18th, New Delhi. Listen to Janvi Kapoor, Malaika Arora, Anita Sengupta, Abha Adams, Hajar Chena Ramani, Dr. Ruha Shadab. The India Moment.
With the Northeast elections done and dusted, the BJP will now turn its lens onto state of war, Karnataka. BJP is war horse for many decades in the state. B.S. Yedurappa is all set to lead the campaign at the ripe age of 80. Former Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yedurappa has emerged as the man of the moment. Recently felicitated and praised lavishly by Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself.
मुझे याद है कि रैता बंधु येदियुरप्पा जी ने श्री अन्न को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए यहां कितना बड़ा अभियान चलाया था.
The duo will lead the BJP's campaign for this year's poll battle. B.S. Yediyurappa is electorally important for the BJP, considering his role as a Lingayat strongman. The Lingayats make up at least 17% of the Karnataka vote bank and are the largest community in the state. They are also the BJP's most loyal vote bank, thanks to Yediyurappa.
I am not going to contest for elections, but I am go around in the state to come back to power in the Karnataka. For that, I will work day and night. 101% will come back to power next assembly election also.
But the big question looms: who will be the BJP's CM face? Bureau Report, India Today.
It's a very common question that I've seen people deliberating. So if you'd have the answer to that, why should one choose Ather?
Why should one choose Ather? Because that's the best, that's the safest electric scooter right now on the market. It's the most stable electric scooter right now on the market. It's the one that's been built and researched for the longest period, almost 10 years. We started work on the scooter in 2014. Actually, early 2013, late 2013, and we're here. What you see here is basically an outcome of all of that.
How many more do you plan to sell? What's the market share that you're looking to capture?
So I think we have finally been able to scale up our production to about 35,000 units a month. That's on capacity. Our supply chain still is scaling up. It's now doing about 16,000 units a month. And I'm confident of crossing about 25,000 units, almost 30,000 units a month by later this year, and fully utilizing this plant by either later this year or early next year. After that, we will be production constrained again, and which point we will start working on a new plant. So about in a year's time, we should utilize our full capacity.
So how does this translate into revenue and profitability?
By revenue, I think Ather will be outside of China. Ather will be the number one or number two electric two-wheeler manufacturer in a few months globally. And by profitability, I think we are still some time away from being profitable, while losses continue to narrow. But given the pace at which market is increasing, we have to continue investing in new capacity, we have to continue investing in new charging infrastructure, new product enhancements. So I think cash profitability is still, I'd say, not this year. It's still a year to work.
watching India Today.
Welcome back. Now, in an exclusive conversation with India Today, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken broke his silence on the Adani Hindenburg issue as well as the Russia and Ukraine war. Listen in.
This is an India Today World exclusive. The most prominent voice from the G20 ministerial is joining us here on India Today today. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, many thanks for joining us and doing this.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
The G20 presidency has begun at a tumultuous time. There are so many differences. You've been speaking about it. We've heard various leaders at various press conferences address the same issue. But the bigger question over here is that despite all the conversations and heated exchanges that we've been hearing about, there still is no consensus on the Russia-Ukraine war, no consensus on the communique. Now, in that, I'd like to know how and why has the West failed in isolating Russia? Why do I say that? Because Russia is still in the room, and in fact, you actually met the Russian Foreign Minister, Lavrov.
So first, I think it's very clear in a variety of ways that Russia is isolated in terms of its aggression against Ukraine. Go back a couple of weeks ago, 141 countries, 3/4 of the United Nations, stood up in the General Assembly and voted for a resolution condemning Russia's aggression and calling for a just and durable peace in Ukraine. Here at the G20, the foreign ministers meeting, if you look at the chair's statement that was put out by India, it reflects on the part of 18 of the 20 countries, that is every country except for Russia and China, the very language that was used by the leaders in the Bali meetings just a few months ago in terms of what Russia is doing in Ukraine. So I think world opinion is very, very clear on this. And in the meetings today, I think it's also fair to say that a number of countries, again, called on Russia to end its aggression. And, you know, this is a concern not just for Ukraine, not just for countries in Europe. It's a concern for the entire world because the consequences of Russia's aggression are being felt around the world. People are feeling it in terms of higher energy prices, higher food prices, and countries are feeling it in a different way because there's been an assault not just on Ukraine, but on the principles at the heart of the United Nations Charter, principles that are necessary for trying to keep the peace around the world, like one country can't simply go and try and take over another, erase its borders, erase its identity. So I think it's very clear where the world is on this, and that was reflected here again in New Delhi.
But the aggression continues, and there is no stopping them. G20 has not been able to. US sanctions have not been able to. So when we talk about isolation, we're talking about absolute isolation of a country that is an aggressor. And that certainly doesn't seem to be the case here.
Well, I think if you look at what's actually happened, the Ukrainian people, with a lot of support from countries around the world, have actually stopped what Russia was trying to do. Russia was trying to erase Ukraine from the map, to absorb it into Russia, to make it so that it didn't exist anymore. That has failed, and it's failed because the Ukrainian people stood up and because so much of the world came to help Ukraine in defending itself. Since then, since that initial attempt to eliminate Ukraine as an independent country failed, Russia has been pushed back in Ukraine to the east and to the south. The Ukrainians have taken back more than 50% of the territory that Russia seized from it early on in the aggression. Unfortunately, tragically, Russia is persisting. It's true, it hasn't stopped. But as it's doing that, it is suffering tremendously. President Putin has inflicted terrible damage not only on Ukraine, but on his own country. Public accounts say that Russia has suffered 200,000 casualties, killed and wounded in Ukraine. And he keeps throwing bodies into this war, a war of his own making. More than 1 million Russians have left the country. Right. They tend to be the most educated and most sophisticated in building a modern economy. 1,000 companies from around the world have left Russia. They're not doing business there because the reputational cost of doing business has gotten to be too great. So all of those things, as well as the sanctions and export controls, are having an increasingly heavy weight on Russia. But ultimately, yes, the objective is to get it to stop the aggression and to restore Ukraine's full sovereignty. And that requires that we continue to support Ukraine and continue to exert pressure on Russia.
And it will take time. But you're here in New Delhi, and concerns of New Delhi and India are a little different. We're talking about China here. Do you think, because of this war, the focus has shifted from China and Chinese aggression, whether it is against Taiwan, India, or for that matter, now we see Chinese spy balloons in American airspace? Is that a concern? How do you see America counter China? And how do you see America continue being a net security provider for the world?
On the contrary, I'm seeing two things. First, as I mentioned, even as so many countries are working to support Ukraine, they're also working together, including here at the G20, to address global problems of concern to people around the world. And I mentioned a few of them, from food insecurity to energy insecurity to climate to global health, including in the wake of COVID, to make sure that that doesn't happen again. At the same time, I actually think that what Russia has done in Ukraine has awakened other parts of the world to concerns about other would-be aggressors. And the very reason that so many countries beyond Europe are standing up against Russia's aggression is because they know that if we let that aggression stand with impunity, then other would-be aggressors might say, well, if Russia can get away with it, so can we, so can I. And that, I think, is a powerful motivator. At the same time, tomorrow we'll be meeting with our partners in the Quad, Australia, Japan, and India. And I'm very much looking forward to that, because we've done a lot of work to focus on issues of common concern to us in the Indo-Pacific. And the United States is deeply engaged throughout the Indo-Pacific with a shared goal that we have with India, with Japan, with Australia, but also with most of the countries in the region, and that is to make sure that we maintain a free, open, prosperous Indo-Pacific. And there are so many things that we're doing together to ensure that we're able to do that.
Talking about another concern that India has, there has been a lot of criticism when it comes to the Indian government with regards to certain American businessmen and short sellers who have come out with reports that have not gone down well with the government, particularly massive losses to one of India's top industrialists, Gautam Adani. And then George Soros coming out and saying that the Hindenburg report will lead to a democratic revival in India. Was this matter discussed with your Indian counterpart, Dr. Jaishankar? If so, what was your response? If not, could you weigh in on the matter?
It wasn't discussed, and I think for a very good reason. These are private matters concerning private companies, private citizens, and they don't affect the relationship between the United States and India, the government to government, and the work we're doing both directly bilaterally, but also here at the G20 in support of India's leadership. That's exactly what we focused on today, the work that we've been doing, and it's been quite extraordinary, in deepening and strengthening the strategic partnership between India and the United States. I think it's reaching unprecedented levels, and we look forward to demonstrating that further when Prime Minister Modi visits Washington in the coming time. And at the same time, today the focus was intensely on the very ambitious agenda that India has for the G20 and the support the United States is providing to that agenda.
There's another very important aspect of in the Indo-US cooperation, which is health, the health sector, COVID-19, but the prospects are grim when it comes to reports that are emerging now. The US Energy Department has concluded that COVID pandemic most likely arose from a laboratory leak. In that, you've had many agencies report to you, send out reports. What can we conclusively say that Beijing indeed is indulging in biological warfare?
There are some very distinct things here that it's important to be clear on. First, President Biden was determined from day one to get to the bottom of the origins of COVID-19, why it happened, how it happened, in order to enable us to make sure, to the greatest extent possible, that it doesn't happen again. And in doing that, he asked all of our intelligence agencies to focus their resources and their attention on this question. And what we have now, after extensive study, is some of our agencies and departments believing that COVID originated from a lab leak in Wuhan. Others believing it's more likely that it originated at a animal market, also in Wuhan. None of the agencies being able to say conclusively that it was one or the other. And so the bottom line is we don't know conclusively, but of course the possibility that it originated in a lab is very clear and very real, and that's what some agencies think is more likely, again, not conclusively. But that's also separate from the question of whether this had anything to do with a biological weapon and anything to do with intentional actions by a country to develop it, use it, release it. And none of the agencies, to my knowledge, have found that.
But do you see biological warfare as a threat coming from China separately?
We have real concerns about the potential development and use of bioweapons in various places around the world. We've been working for years to try to ensure that that wouldn't happen. There's something called the Biological Weapons Convention that we're a strong adherent to, and at the same time we have programs around the world to help countries that have biological research programs for medical reasons, for example, to make sure that they are fully safe and secure.
My final question to you. The US CIRF report under your leadership has been highly critical of India when it comes to certain categories, whether it's freedom of speech or treatment of minorities. Is that an area that was covered in your bilateral meetings with Dr. Jaishankar? And if so, again, what was India's response to it?
We have an ongoing dialogue on both of our democracies and human rights, because as the world's two largest democracies, it's central to who we are. It's central to our identity. And in our own case, we've had, from day one of our own democracy, our founding fathers set as an objective to try to form a more perfect union, which is an acknowledgement that we're not perfect. We never will be, but it's in trying to do ever better on democracy, on human rights, that we make progress. And I think that's a shared commitment that both of us have. And when questions or issues come up, we discuss them directly, very openly, very freely. And I think we would hold each other to account when there are concerns. And that's, I think, typical of many of our conversations, and came up today as well. But the point is that we're engaging on these issues directly, as friends, as partners, and I believe and hope working to make sure that both of our societies continue to get stronger when it comes to our democracies and when it comes to human rights.
Secretary Blinken, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today and for this very candid conversation. Thank you.
Thanks. Very good to be with you. Appreciate it.
Well, that is time for a quick commercial break here. We're getting news of the hearing impaired on the other side.
You are watching India Today.
September 14th, 2020. A 19-year-old Dalit woman is allegedly gang raped in a village in Hathras district of Uttar Pradesh. 2 weeks later, she succumbs to injuries at a hospital in Delhi. Her death and overnight cremation, allegedly without the family's consent, sparked off public anger and protests. After almost 3 years, a Hathras court has delivered its verdict in the case. One accused, Sandeep, is convicted, while the remaining 3 stand acquitted. Sandeep is held guilty of culpable homicide, not amounting to murder, and under sections of SC/SD Act. He has been sentenced to life imprisonment and a fine of 50,000 has been imposed. Other accused Ravi, Lavkush and Ramu will walk free. Charges of rape have been dropped.
सर 3 लोगों को रिहा कर दिया है, बरी कर दिया है, और एक संदीप है, उसे दोषी माना है। केवल एक मुलजिम को दोषी माना है बस।
किस मामले का दोषी माना है?
310 में माना है और 304 में माना है।
तो 376 का जो मुकदमा था उसमें
रेप सिद्ध नहीं हुआ है।
Families of the accused have hailed the court's verdict and demanded the release of Sandeep as well.
बढ़िया है जो कोर्ट ने फैसला लो, बढ़िया बात है। चारों वाले का निर्दोष है, चारों।
The victim's family is considering moving the High Court to challenge the acquittal of 3 accused.
3 को इसमें बरी कर दिया गया। उन 3 के अगेंस्ट में हम हाई कोर्ट में अपील करेंगे डेफिनेटली इसमें, और साथ ही अभी जजमेंट हमारे पास है, उसका देखेंगे कि कोर्ट ने क्या ऑब्जर्वेशन दिया है, रेप के धारा में क्यों कन्विक्शन नहीं किया, अन्य धाराओं में और जो लगाई हुई थी CBI ने, और चार्ज जिन धाराओं में फ्रेम हुआ था उसमें क्यों कन्विक्शन नहीं हुआ।
The CBI, which investigated the case, had filed a 2,000-page charge sheet on December 29, 2020. The agency took statements from 104 witnesses. Bureau Report, India Today.
A day after the mega G20 foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi, External Affairs Minister S. Vijay Sankalp led a Quad huddle to discuss multiple global issues. Quad's main focus this year continues to be the Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific region. After the meeting, the Quad released a joint statement in which they reaffirmed steadfast commitment to supporting a free and open Indo-Pacific, which is inclusive and resilient. Rahul Gandhi has once again criticized the Indian government on foreign soil. Delivering a speech at the Cambridge University, the Congress MP launched a scathing attack on the Prime Minister, claiming that Indian democracy is under threat. He took a jibe at the Prime Minister, saying that he is imposing his ideas on India and that he thinks that Muslims and Christians in India are second-class citizens. Big blow for the BJP ahead of the high-octane Karnataka Assembly polls. The Lokayukt caught BJP MLA's son, Prashant Madal, red-handed, while he was receiving a bribe of 40 lakh rupees at his private office in Bengaluru. So far, officials have recovered 8 crores and 40 lakhs in total. Raids are underway. In order to eradicate the Mafia Raj from Uttar Pradesh, Day 3 of the demolition drive continues in UP's Prayagraj, where bulldozers razed down the house of Atiq Ahmed Zaid Masukuddin, a mafia against whom cases are registered in many police stations of Prayagraj.
India gets its first ever transgender ward. The GT Hospital in Mumbai has opened a facility exclusively for the community. The ward has 30 beds with separate examination and dressing rooms and has gender-neutral toilets.
What happens is, of course, if it's a patient is critical, for example, if he needs an ICU, if he requires a surgery, then in these places there is no gender division. So these patients will have to go there. But for other things like nebulization, CPAP, So all that will happen under one roof.
GT Hospital has trained more than 150 staff members to sensitize them on providing medical treatment to transgender patients.
We've taken the help of transgender community in developing the ward. What are your needs? In that context, we actually had sensitization of around 150 of our own employees to know how to, be sensitive to their needs, to their issues.
The hospital authorities say their initiative is a step in the direction of making India more gender inclusive. With Dev Kotak in Mumbai, Bureau Report, India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
LIC हर पल आपके साथ। बूडा जींस कंपनी, प्लैनेट इजी।
As Karnataka campaign heats up, Bribegate bomb bursts on Bommai. BJP MLA's son caught with crores of rupees. Congress declares Bommai corruption king. Dirty spotlight weeks from the election. Can Chief Minister Bommai shake off this dirt? A big corruption bomb drops on the ruling BJP in Karnataka. How damaging is this going to be to the ruling party just weeks before the elections? I'm going to take you through this newest bribegate where crores of rupees have been found in cash at the home of the son of a sitting BJP MLA. He hasn't resigned yet, but he's resigned from one of his positions pertaining to this entire bribery scandal. I'm Shiv, this is 5 Live. As always, the big stories right here, the headlines first. Rahul Gandhi criticizes Prime Minister Modi and his government at Cambridge University, accuses centre of spying on him, says the Modi government is hampering democracy in India. Top Modi ministers gun for Rahul Gandhi over his Cambridge lecture, says defaming India has become a habit of Rahul Gandhi. And all this a day after the Congress was obliterated in the Northeast. No stopping Baba ka bulldozer in Prayagraj in UP. House of 3rd Umesh Pal murder accused Atiq Ahmed's aide brought shaking to the ground by bulldozers. Dr. S. Jaishankar chairs the Quad Squad in Delhi. Foreign ministers of 4 nations underline commitment to free and open Indo-Pacific in a move to checkmate China. Border Gavaskar Trophy. Australia win indoor test by 9 wickets to qualify for the final of the World Test Championship. Nathan Lyon named player of the match.
Victory here by 9 wickets. When you consider they were 2-0 down.
How is this for strategic messaging? We've got a big news break here on India Today to kick off proceedings here on 5 Live. Amidst the very important G20 handshake between the foreign ministers of India and China, the Indian Army has just put out pictures flaunting a very strong quote-unquote pitch at the Galwan area of Ladakh, where the two countries' armies clashed violently in June 2020. Well, a day after, India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar shook hands with his Chinese counterpart Qin Gang in Delhi on the sidelines of the G20. The Indian Army has just put out these photographs of army soldiers playing cricket in the high-altitude Galwan sector of eastern Ladakh. This place, remember, had been a notorious flashpoint between the two countries since that violent episode in June 2020. Now remember, these pictures were put out earlier today by the Indian Army and its Leh Corps, but nowhere was it mentioned that this was actually the Galwan sector. It has taken India Today's experts, Ankit Kumar and Abhishek Bhalla, to decode the significance of these pictures put out by the Indian Army. And now we can confirm to you, viewer, that that image of Indian Army Jawans playing cricket happens to be just 4 kilometers from the site where the clash took place. That's right. This is strategic messaging of another level altogether. This is India and the Indian Army, while the Chinese foreign minister is on Indian soil, sending out a very clear message that India is in control of those frontier areas, no matter what propaganda China chooses to put out. So these pictures showing the Indian Army's Jawans playing cricket just 4 kilometers from the site where the Galwan clash took place, very much in the Galwan sector, high altitude area where it's difficult to breathe. But these Jawans are actually strenuously playing a sport, sends out a different kind of message altogether. Remember, yesterday, after meeting
his Chinese counterpart, Qin Gang, Foreign Minister S. Vijay Sankalp termed India-China relations abnormal. Now, I can tell you, after years of covering India-China relations, images of the kind that have just been put out by the Indian army while the Chinese foreign minister is on Indian soil is most certainly no coincidence. I'm going to go to this story in just a moment. First, listen to what Dr. Vijay Sankalp said yesterday.
I met Minister Qin Gang on the sidelines of the conference this afternoon. It's our first meeting after he took over as foreign minister. So we spent, I don't know, maybe about 45 minutes talking to each other. There are real problems in that relationship that need to be looked at, that need to be discussed very openly and candidly between us. That's what we sought to do today. We also had a brief discussion on what was happening in the G20 framework, but the thrust of the meeting was really on our bilateral relationship and the challenges in the bilateral relationship, especially that of peace and tranquility in the border areas.
Okay, so just take a very close look at these pictures that the Indian Army put out. I'll just once again tell you, the Indian Army put out 4 images of Jawans playing cricket in some obscure part of Ladakh. The Indian Army has not labelled the location. They have not said where it's being played. It took India Today's resident experts in satellite mapping and geo-locating to tell you what the significance of these images is. And I want to introduce to you Ankit Kumar, our resident expert in all things imagery, who actually decoded the fact that these are Galwan images. Beg your pardon. Also with us is our National Bureau Chief, Abhishek Bhalla with us. Ankit, quickly coming to you first. You know, incredible how in minutes you've been able to, tell our viewers, Ankit, that these images, which could have been anywhere in Ladakh, happen to be just 4 kilometers from the site of the Galwan clash.
Well, Shiv, pictures speak 1,000 words, and in this case, the language definitely is Mandarin. Remember, the timing is all that matters. Last year in January, China unfurled their national flag very close to the clash site. This time, when the Chinese foreign minister is in New Delhi, these pictures definitely send a very strong message. What we have done here is we have matched the geographical properties, the terrain, etc., that we can see in the pictures that was released by the Indian Army. Indian Army has not clearly mentioned where these pictures were taken from. They have mentioned the division and the brigade. We know that division and the brigade, the area in which they operate. Yes. We have also, for past 3 years, we have been seeing a lot of satellite imagery that is coming out of Galwan. So that helps. What we can say is that based on available data that we have, the 100% matching terrain, we can say with 100% surety that these pictures are approximately 4 kilometers away from the June 2020 clash site of the Galwan Valley.
Incredible. And I have absolutely no doubts about your abilities in precisely locating where this is. If Ankit Kumar says this is 4 kilometers from the clash site, then 4 kilometers it is. Abhishek, bringing you in on this, this is no coincidence. Let's call a spade a spade. It's not like the army has done this randomly. Everyone knows that the Chinese foreign minister is right here in India's national capital at the G20. That big handshake with him and Dr. Vijay Sankalp happened yesterday. This is the Indian system basically showing that we are no less than China when it comes to strategic messaging. We can play mind games at all as well. And this is actually the Indian army playing to its strengths.
Well, Shiv, first of all, hats off to Ankit. Within an hour of the army putting out this tweet, he was able to completely decode and give the exact location. And we were very quickly onto the story, trying to put it together. So, he's really good at it. And what you rightly said, that the kind of mind games that the Indian army is playing, frankly, Shiv, this is something where we've had some catching up to do. But now that we've learned how to do it, we are doing it pretty well because the Chinese had mastered the art of propaganda. This, of course, is not propaganda. This is smart mind games.
Yeah, this is messaging.
Very strong messaging. The Indian army is there. Nowhere have they said what the exact location is. That's something that Ankit could find out.
Yeah.
And we would like to clarify that the Indian Army is nowhere near the buffer zone.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the clash point, because as per agreements, there was a pullback. Both sides pulled back by 700 meters from the exact clash point. That's where the first camp is. The second camp is another 700 meters behind. And there's another camp, another 700 meters behind. So that's more than 2 kilometers. So this is even behind 2 kilometers. It's 4 kilometers.
Yeah.
But sources have always maintained something, that it's very important to keep a watch on the clash point area. So lots of new surveillance techniques are being used to make sure that the Chinese do not come back again. There were reports that they want to have an observation post somewhere near the clash point once again, but because the Indian Army is monitoring the situation, that has not been made possible.
You know, what is, Ankit, you know, as someone like you who's decoded these images, you know, I can imagine that the message has gone out, you know, loud and clear. I'm sure there are other experts trying to get the same story that you and Abhishek have just broken here on India Today. Let me just say it very clearly. Nobody else had a whiff of this story until we broke it. It's on our website. You can see those details as well. But Ankit, you know, tell us about the power of these images and the power of this information, because this was a site of a violent clash between the two sides. As Abhishek rightly said, you know, India has had some catching up to do when it comes to strategic messaging. Forget about propaganda. But the power of these messages is in the fact that it's taking place so close to that clash site.
Well, Shiv, if you see the communication that comes out of PLA for its domestic population, is they try to broadcast a message that Galwan Valley is in China's control, and that's why they keep releasing those videos and pictures from Galwan Valley, claiming that the entire Galwan Valley is in PLA's control. That's the message, that's the official PLA line for Chinese domestic consumption. What these pictures can do is, these pictures, without any official statement from the Indian government or the Indian Army, have the power to counter that Chinese narrative. We are not sure if this picture will end up making their way inside the great wall, the internet wall that China has created. But if they do, these pictures have the power to counter the fake Chinese narrative that China controls the entirety of Galwan Valley, the official PLA line, the official CCP line that the Chinese government has for its domestic population.
And, just as a last word on this, to round up this amazing news break, is remember, this is a high altitude area, thousands of feet above sea level, viewer, and the army is, not being flippant about things, but the messaging is very subtle. At the same time, it's very strong. They're showing not only can we operate at these levels, not only can we survive at these levels, we can even play a hectic sport at these altitudes. That's the message. And remember, this plays to the Indian Army's strengths as being a much more experienced battle force in high altitude areas, far superior to the Chinese forces. Well, there's always respect for the adversary, but strategic messaging appears to be the order of the day as far as the Indian Army is concerned, no less at a time when the Chinese foreign minister is on Indian soil. Ankita and Abhishek, congratulations and thanks very much for this very big news break only here on India Today. And now let's get you straight to our big spotlight story on 5 Live. Fighting corruption charges, a bribe-gate bomb, a big one, has now dropped on an embattled Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai. A sitting BJP MLA's son has been caught red-handed accepting 40 lakh rupees in bribes, and 8 crore rupees in cash has been recovered from this MLA's residence. The Congress has now termed Bommai corruption car king. Remember, less than a month to go for the election campaign to kick into top gear.
These are the wads of cash recovered from a BJP MLA's son in Karnataka. A whopping 8 crore rupees recovered by the state Lokayukt. And the man with this cash stash is the son of BJP MLA Madal Virupakshapa, setting off a political storm in the poll-bound state. The Lokayukt, the anti-corruption watchdog of the Karnataka government, caught the BJP MLA's son red-handed receiving a bribe
of 40 lakh rupees at his private office in Bengaluru. And soon enough, the Lokayukt raids threw up a huge cash haul. Money was recovered both from the office and the residence of the accused.
It is a case of trap. The complainants approached us. They provided us all the material. When the office was visited, the concerned office of the accused was visited, so he demanded and accepted the money, and he was caught red-handed.
Is he accused in the case? MLA is accused in the case?
Yes, they are all accused there, and what is their precise role in the matter, it will be unearthed soon.
Raids were also conducted at the BJP MLA Virupakshapa's properties by the Lokayukt, including his Bengaluru residence.
Model Virupaksha have a flat here in KV mansion on floor 3rd, and he owns a flat number 301. The Lokayukta is conducting the raid, and they have also given a clarification that so far they have seized up to 6 crore rupees in his mansion here in Sanjay Nagar, and all this money are unaccounted.
The BJP MLA meanwhile is trying to brazen it out. He resigned as the chairman of his company but remains an MLA. India Today spoke to the MLA moments after his son was taken into custody, but he feigned ignorance.
ಅದೇ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನ ಊರಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
Okay.
ನಾನು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನನಗೆ ಅದು ಏನು ಸತ್ಯಾಂಶ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದು, ಏನು ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕಾಗಿದೆ.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ತಾವು ತಮ್ಮ ಮಗನ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರ ಸರ್?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರ ಪಾಪ ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತರ ಜೊತೆ ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೇನು ಫೋನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಓಕೆ, ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಕನ್ಫರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ರೈಡಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಗ ಇದ್ದ ಅಂತ ಸರ್?
ನನ್ನ ಟಿವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ನೋಡಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಂಗೆ ಬಾಕಿ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೋ ಇದ್ದಾಗ 40 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್
ನನ್ನ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ನನ್ನ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಇರೋದು ಶಾಸಕರ ಭವನದಲ್ಲಿ.
ಓಕೆ,
ನನ್ನ ಆಫೀಸ್
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಟೆಂಡರ್ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ
ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
With months to go for crucial elections in Karnataka, the bribe gate has rocked the Karnataka BJP, and Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has assured a detailed investigation will be carried out.
ಈ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ಸರ್ವಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ, ನಿಷ್ಪಕ್ಷಪಾತವಾದಂಥ ತನಿಖೆ ಆಗಲಿ, ಯಾರು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ನಿಲುವು.
But his assurances failed to douse the political fire. The Congress has reignited the 40% commission Sarkar barb.
If 40 lakh rupees is being taken in this fashion, how many hundreds and thousands of crores would have been taken by all these corrupt people in the BJP? This brazen corruption tells us, Bharatiya Janata Party and Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, that you have looted Karnataka and this loot has to end.
ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತವನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಆದೇಶ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಗಲೇ ಕೋರ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಆದೇಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು.
The Congress even dragged Union Home Minister Amit Shah, demanding answers from the Home Minister on his Karnataka tour.
The Congress party has been accusing BJP government, saying it's a 40% government, and this is the most corrupt government in the country, and it's proved today. So the Chief Minister of Karnataka keeps asking us to produce documents. What more documents does he require? All the documents that is required can be found in BJP MLA's house and ministers' offices. So it's high time that the CM owns up responsibility and resigns. Where is the CBI? Where is the IT? Where is the ED now? Mr. Amit Shah is coming, right, to Karnataka. He should get his team and come.
With Sagairaj in Bengaluru, Bureau Report, India Today.
And this issue is justifiably escalating just weeks before the elections. The Congress is stepping up its attack on Basavaraj Bommai and his government in the shadow of this Bribegate scandal. Senior Congress leader, former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, has demanded that elections in Karnataka be held immediately. He says in order to put an end to rampant corruption, and commissioned by BJP Karnataka representatives and to bring in accountability as per provisions of the Constitution, I urge the Election Commission to immediately announce elections and impose code of conduct. I want to go across to India Today's Sagai Raj, who's on the ground bringing us all the developments on this rapidly escalating story. Sagai, the former Chief Minister of Karnataka, Siddaramaiah, launching a big one, saying, hold the elections now, because this is getting out of hand.
Absolutely, and he has justified his statement stating that more corruption, more money for BJP ahead of elections, which will also help BJP to galvanize the votes. So these are the allegations from former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, who said that the election should be announced immediately so that they can avoid all this corruption and there can be an end to all money flowing when it comes to legally. Shiv, remember this particular transaction which has happened in office of KS officer, and remember it was a transaction to buy all the raw materials for making of all those soaps, Mysore detergent soap. So this raw materials were supposed to be given on a tender, and the people who had to get a tender have to pay so much of money to get the tender. So they are saying that there are a lot of tender which has been caught illegally by the government and trying to give the tender as soon as possible, which are scripting a lot of bribe which will be useful for the BJP ahead of elections, and that is the reason the opposition claims that the election should be called immediately to avoid these kind of flow of money as well as corruption.
Okay, stay with me, Sagai. Thanks very much for joining us on that story. But let's recap, what this entire scandal is really about. India Today had broken it earlier today. This is the new corruption flashpoint just weeks before the Karnataka election. On the 1st of March, that is 2 days ago, the Congress alleged that there was a scam in molasses export. I'm just taking you through all the corruption allegations that have been there in the recent days. The Congress claimed licenses were given to a dubious company. January 16th this year, State Contractors Association was accused ministers and MLAs of demanding bribes. The audio of a BJP MLA Tippa Reddy demanding a bribe was also released at that time. August 27th last year, 2 school associations wrote to the Prime Minister accusing the State Education Department of bribery. Association claimed bribes were being demanded to issue recognition certificates. August 24th last year, 40% commission, the infamous 40% commission charge against state ministers for clearing dues of contractors. It became one of the biggest headlines last year from Karnataka. April 19th last year, Lingayats here alleged that the state government officials were demanding a 30% commission from mutts to release funds. So I've just told you about corruption allegations and scandals in just the last 1 year that Basavaraj Bommai has been the Chief Minister of Karnataka. Well, as a beleaguered Bommai fights off these corruption charges just weeks before the elections, the BJP seems to be betting on its old warhorse BS Yediyurappa for the upcoming Karnataka elections, because Yediyurappa is turning out to be the big protagonist no matter where you look. He's being praised by Prime Minister Modi. He's being feted by Prime Minister Modi. The Prime Minister held his hand. He called for a special celebration of his birthday as well. I'll tell you a little bit about Yediyurappa's role, but first let's tell you how big of an issue this corruption taint could be in the upcoming election. India Today's Mood of the Nation, the Mood of the Nation survey, is the most definite tracker, and it shows that the Congress-led UPA is making big gains in Karnataka and will be looking to make use of this scandal as well to up its game. It got 2 Lok Sabha seats in 2019. The Mood of the Nation August 2022 survey projected 13 seats, and our January tracker this year is projecting 17 seats. So from 2 to 13 to 17, the mood appears to be with the Congress party, but the BJP is fighting it back. Now let's look at the projected vote share. While the August 2022 Mood of the Nation tracker on India Today projected 43.1% vote share for the Congress-led UPA in Karnataka, our January tracker this year shows a marginal increase in vote share there as well. So the Congress appears to be on the front foot, the BJP appears to be on the back foot. But as a beleaguered Bommai fights off these corruption charges, like I said, it is not Bommai, but B.S. Yediyurappa, his predecessor as Chief Minister, who appears to be the actor number one for the BJP in Karnataka. He's been dusted off the shelves and is being flaunted everywhere by the BJP. And his stature appears to be towering above Bommai right now. So much so that there is information that it is Mr. Yediyurappa who could be named the campaign committee chief for the BJP in this upcoming election. Take a look at this report.
With the Northeast elections done and dusted, the BJP will now turn its lens onto state of war, Karnataka. BJP is war horse for many decades in the state. B.S. Yediyurappa is all set to lead the campaign at the ripe age of 80. Former Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa has emerged as the man of the moment. Recently felicitated and praised lavishly by Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself.
मुझे याद है कि रईता बंधु येदियुरप्पा जी ने श्री अन्न को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए यहां कितना बड़ा अभियान चलाया था.
The duo will lead the BJP's campaign for this year's poll battle. B.S. Yediyurappa is electorally important for the BJP, considering his role as a Lingayat strongman. The Lingayats make up at least 17% of the Karnataka vote bank and are the largest community in the state. They are also the BJP's most loyal vote bank, thanks to Yediyurappa.
I am not going to contest for elections, but I am go around in the state to come back to power in the Karnataka. For that, I will work day and night. 101% will come back to power next assembly election also.
But the big question looms: who will be the BJP's CM face? Bureau Report, India Today.
And obviously, India Today takes its status as Karnataka's most watched English channel very, very seriously. That's the reason why India Today was the first channel that B.S. Yediyurappa spoke to in this exclusive interview to our reporter Sagai Raj in Bengaluru. Yediyurappa set the news headlines buzzing by making many different news points. Take a look at this highlight from that exclusive interview.
Who will be the Chief Minister of Karnataka after election? The central leadership is going to take decision. But at the time of that public meeting, Amit Shah ji spoke about me and also Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Naturally, this leadership will get maximum support from the people of Karnataka. That is the reason he has mentioned Modi ji and my name. And that doesn't mean that he has neglected Basuraj Bommai. Basuraj Bommai, myself and Modi ji and all together, we will work hard in the Karnataka and we will come back to power. There are so many leaders in Karnataka. At the time of after the election, the Modi ji and Amit Shah is going to take decision who should lead the party in Karnataka. And you know very well, our Bommai's government has given very good pro-people program in Karnataka. It is all helpful to us to come back to power in Karnataka. And who should be the lead of the government next time, that will decide by the Prime Minister of India and also Home Minister. Now, because of so many developments, there are so many leaders in Karnataka to lead the government. And who should be the leader of the government, that will be decided by the central leadership.
The Karnataka election is one of our biggest stories, and we'll have the biggest political team covering the big campaign and the run-up to what is all set to be 2023's biggest state election. India Today always number one in Karnataka. After this very short break, we're switching focus from Karnataka to Quad. And you have to see what India has managed to achieve at the G20. It's something no other country has managed to do a full year after the Ukraine war. We'll tell you about India's rise as a global peacemaker next.
India Today Conclave 2023, March 17th and 18th, New Delhi. Listen to S. Jaishankar, Shashi Tharoor, Justice U. Lalit, Justice Sharad Arvind Bobde, Sanjeev Goenka, Anil Agarwal. The India Moment.
A committee of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice of India will appoint the election commissioners from now on. A 5-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court has ruled in landmark judgment. In an unanimous verdict, the Supreme Court has agreed with the petition that the appointment of CEC and ECs must be done on the line of appointment done for CBI Director. The top court said that this must be done to make the commission more independent and to prevent any kind of interference in its functioning.
बहुत ऐतिहासिक फैसला है जो लोकतंत्र के ऊपर बहुत असर डालेगा, क्योंकि आज तो हम देख रहे थे कि इलेक्शन कमीशन बिल्कुल सरकार के इशारों पर नाच रहा था और उसका एक कारण ये था कि सरकार जिसको चाहे बना देती थी.
The bench headed by Justice K.M. Joseph highlighted the role of money power and criminalization of politics.
In a scathing comment on India's current political scenario, the Supreme Court has said that an election commission must be independent and cannot claim merely to be independent while acting in an unfair manner. At the same time, the court has said that the vast powers available with the election commission must be exercised in a constitutional and legal manner down the process by which the EC and the CEC must be appointed.
The opposition hailed the Supreme Court verdict, calling it a much-needed step.
The Supreme Court verdict, I welcome heartily. They can only save the country right now. It is only Supreme Court, our highest judiciary, who are the pillar of the democracy, who are our protector. Only Supreme Court can protect our democracy.
Supreme Court judgment strikes, slams the hegemonic, the control freak approach of this government towards institutions.
The Supreme Court order has put the focus once again on the independence of the EC amid a shrill cry from the opposition repeatedly that the institution, along with other agencies, have been compromised. Bureau Report, India Today. For a man who has lost $80 billion this year, the worst is not yet over for Gautam Adani. The billionaire entrepreneur now has not one but two high-level probes into his business affairs, and both the probes are monitored by none other than the Supreme Court. The Apex Court passed its judgment after hearing several petitions concerning the loss of investor wealth due to the massive plunge in Adani Group stocks. Total wealth erosion due to sell-off triggered by Hindenburg research report has topped 12 lakh crore rupees last week. In a crucial order, the Supreme Court set up a 6-member committee headed by retired High Court Chief Justice. The committee comprises known industry figures like banker K.V. Kamath and technocrat Nandan Nilekani. The committee has been tasked with providing an overall assessment of the situation, including causes and factors which led to volatility in the security market. The panel will also suggest measures to strengthen investor awareness. It will investigate if there has been regulatory failure in dealing with the alleged contravention of laws in relation to Adani Group and other companies. The panel will also suggest measures to strengthen the statutory and regulatory framework. Meanwhile, capital markets regulator SEBI will continue its existing probe into the Adani Hindenburg case. It has, however, been asked to investigate whether there has been a violation of the minimum shareholding laws. SEBI has also been asked by the Supreme Court to look into whether there has been a failure to disclose transactions with related parties in the Adani case. The regulator will look into whether there was any manipulation of stock prices in contravention of existing laws as well. The court has made it clear that its directions will not limit the contours of the ongoing SEBI investigation. Both the committee and SEBI have been asked to submit their report into Adani's affairs to the Supreme Court in 2 months. Gautam Adani welcomed the probe, tweeting that the order will bring finality in a time-bound manner, adding that the truth will prevail. The markets also welcomed the Supreme Court verdict, sending all 10 Adani Group shares into the green. The flagship Adani Enterprises closed up 2.8%. 5 of the 10 stocks hit the upper circuit. The surge in the group stocks added 30,000 crore rupees to the group market cap.
The next 2 months will be crucial as these reports will be filed before the court. After 2 months, it will be a big question for the Indian markets and the Indian investors as to what really went wrong and what will be done to tighten the system in the country. In New Delhi, with cameraman Ajay Thakur, this is Anisha Mathur for Business Today.
One year after Ukraine war began, Vishwaguru India shows the way. India facilitates first US-Russia contact. Blinken-Lavrov finally talk in Delhi. Diplomatic hope for Ukraine solution. India rising as global peacemaker. Is India rising as a global peacemaker? Viewer, the Ukraine war that erupted last year with a full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia has dominated proceedings at the G20 summit being held here in Delhi involving foreign ministers of the G20 nations. But India, and Indian soil has been chosen for that crucial first contact between Russia and the United States since the war actually began. And that truly says something. Antony Blinken and Sergei Lavrov of Russia met for just 10 minutes, but they chose to do it here in India. And for me personally and for experts everywhere, this is being seen as a huge vindication of India's neutrality, India's foreign policy, and India's strength of diplomacy at a time of polarization and crisis. Well, Antony Blinken and Sergei Lavrov belong to enemy nations, as it were, especially over the Ukraine war. But it was here in India that the two leaders finally shook hands and spoke for 10 minutes. Take a look at this exchange.
A number of countries, again, called on Russia to end its aggression. And, you know, this is a concern not just for Ukraine, not just for countries in Europe. It's a concern for the entire world because the consequences of Russia's aggression are being felt around the world.
Everybody is asking when Russia is ready to negotiate, when Russia is ready to negotiate. The West continuously is saying that it is not time to negotiate yet because Ukraine must win in the battlefield before any negotiations. And Zelensky himself, nobody calls on Zelensky asking him when he is going to negotiate, but you should have known, preparing for this topic at this meeting, that in September last year, Zelensky signed a decree making it a criminal offense to negotiate with Russia as long as Putin is president.
Unfortunately, tragically, Russia is persisting. It's true, it hasn't stopped. But as it's doing that, it is suffering tremendously. President Putin has inflicted terrible damage not only on Ukraine, but on his own country. Public accounts say that Russia has suffered 200,000 casualties, killed and wounded in Ukraine. And he keeps throwing bodies into this war, a war of his own making. More than 1 million Russians have left the country.
Right.
They tend to be the most educated and most sophisticated in building a modern economy. 1,000 companies from around the world have left Russia. They're not doing business there because the reputational cost of doing business has gotten to be too great. So all of those things, as well as the sanctions and export controls, are having an increasingly heavy weight on Russia.
I am trying to explain to you that it is not black and white, that the sufferings of others are not related to what we are doing in Ukraine to defend ourselves at all. These sufferings are related to the sanctions, to the policy of blackmail, the policy of diktat, which the West is promoting. Putin explained in great detail before we started this operation why we are doing this, why we didn't have any other choice. The West condemned. Treat others as grown-ups, as mature people. Don't tell them what position to take. The developing world basically was silent until the West started blackmailing them, threatening them, sanctioning those who would not sanction Russia.
Russia is isolated in terms of its aggression against Ukraine. Go back a couple of weeks ago, 141 countries, 3/4 of the United Nations, stood up in the General Assembly and voted for a resolution condemning Russia's aggression and calling for a just and durable peace in Ukraine. Here at the G20, the foreign ministers meeting, if you look at the chair's statement that was put out by India, it reflects on the part of 18 of the 20 countries, that is every country except for Russia and China, the very language that was used by the leaders in the Bali meetings just a few months ago in terms of what Russia is doing in Ukraine. So I think world opinion is very, very clear on this.
It's clear that NATO violated all these commitments. By the way, it was in 1999, and then it was repeated in 2010 at another OSCE summit in Kazakhstan. And when we started to ask questions, guys, you committed yourself not to increase your security at the expense of our security. Can you stop expanding NATO? So, no delivery on the oral commitments, no delivery on written commitments, no delivery on legally binding commitments. And all this was accompanied by NATO instructors beefing up Ukrainian army, Ukraine getting more and more weapons. As Merkel, Hollande, Poroshenko and Zelensky said, we needed the Minsk agreements to buy some time to get more and more weapons to Ukraine.
Both those foreign ministers from the US and Russia were saying things against each other. But for the first time since the Russia-Ukraine war started over a year ago, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov made contact right here in India on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Make no mistake, this was India facilitating that first US-Russia contact. Prime Minister Modi, remember, had declared that the era of war is over. Is this India's rise as a global peacemaker?
Over a year since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Over a year since this war has threatened to expand into a global conflict. Over a year since temperatures between the US and Russia have hit critical levels. And it's India that's facilitated a break in the ice. That's right. It was on the sidelines of the G20 foreign ministers meet in Delhi that the foreign ministers of the US and Russia finally spoke. The 10-minute contact, not quite a full-fledged meeting, is a major diplomatic milestone, especially since the US and Russia have been engaged in an escalating standoff over Ukraine, even brandishing their nuclear weapons at each other in the year gone by. It's understood that it was Secretary Antony Blinken's office that sought the meeting with his Russian counterpart. But the Russian side agreed to only a brief contact, where the two foreign ministers could chat.